on the internet. Streaming live on Facebook and Twitch and the YouTube. It's the Smoking Hot Nerds podcast.
Hey, everybody, a little behind the scenes. This is us checking our audio.
Right? And just two nerds. It's Brian won't be joining us tonight. He had a doctor's appointment today, so he couldn't come. So, unfortunately. It's not true.
Hold on, let me check your...
He's working. So yeah, it's just going to be Nico and I for the foreseeable future until Eric joins us. But hope you all had a great week. How have things been?
Slot?
Well, we'll slot when Eric gets on here.
Fine.
So I did a gigantic upload barrage of about a month's worth of podcasts. And the thing that we need to start doing better is slating at the same time. We just need to decide, are we going to slate at the beginning or at the end? Or at the middle? Let's just pick one, because I had to comb through waveforms, and there was never a week except for last time where all four of us started the same time, so our audio was roughly the same length. Otherwise, it was Eric's was 40 minutes shorter, and or I didn't download all of Brian's or whatever it was. So it's pretty funny.
Wow, that's the job, right?
Yeah, but it was fun. It's been 2 weeks since we've done a podcast, and so it was nice. I missed you guys, so it was fun to listen to us yibber yabber.
Oh yeah, I've had I want to say it was a week or so ago, right? I maxed out. I hit the end of our list on Spotify, so I've been listening to music and stuff at the gym, and the EOS Fitness here has an EOS Cinema where they play movies. And you can run to movies, which
really?
I have not settled on whether I like that or not.
Yeah.
And I can go into that later. But so I started listening to it. But every day I'm checking that Spotify, is there a new one yet? Nope. All right. So who wins on Amazon Music today?
Yeah. Yeah. You can always yell at me because I just got crazy busy. But it's dumb because it took me. It took me 4.5, 5 hours to do all the episodes. And I was just that's just not a practical use of my time. I need to do them as they come in. But I'll blame Eric just a little bit because his doesn't upload for 3 or 4 days after. If everybody uploaded it tonight, I'd have it up tonight or tomorrow, So so I'll blame Eric while he's not
That's fair
on at the moment. So but what's our first one after Thanksgiving? How was your Thanksgiving? Was it delightful? Please.
Spot checks.
Well, I'll tell you about my Thanksgiving. It was great.
I'm sorry.
It was full of turkey, an extremely safe, COVID-friendly Thanksgiving.
Good.
That's how we roll. And
smart.
It was good. It was nice.
Let's see. Good. It was different this year. We usually have a bunch of people over, and then we play. Well, we eat food, and then we play the Jackbox games.
That's kind of your big thing, isn't it?
Yeah. We tried to do board games, but it's hard to do board games after you've eaten a bunch of food and pie and stuff, because you can't guarantee that everyone's going to be in the same place. But the Jackbox games are great because it's what do I do? Just pick up your phone. What do I do? You're just going to push a couple buttons, think of something funny, write it down, call it a day. So it's a nice, easy one to do. But this year we still did deep fried turkey. We did a 16-hour brine beforehand, and it's killer. I don't know if I can ever go back to just an oven turkey ever again.
Yeah. You brine it and then you said 24 hours?
Not quite 24, but it was 16 hours.
Nice.
And then just the other, just the standard accoutrement type stuff, but small little group. So we didn't have a lot of people,
nice.
It was nice because then we just kind of ate at our leisure. We ate early. So it wasn't, because with the deep fryer, it takes 45 minutes to heat up, and then somewhere around, it's 3.5 minutes a pound. So let's call it another 45 minutes, but then it takes 5 hours for the oil to cool down. So you don't want to be eating at 9 o'clock at night thinking, okay, so 2 a.m. let me go out there and clean the oil.
Go get the oil.
Because if it goes too far, it'll solidify inside the fryer, and that's definitely not what you want. So
it's a one use
Yeah, then it's a one and done, and you chuck it. Especially because I used to do the stereotypical firefighter's best friend version, which was just the aluminum super boiler, and you heat it up with a propane flame and then drop the thing in. But a couple of years ago, I got for Christmas, I actually got it's made by Butterball, not a sponsor, but it's their deep fryer, but it's supposed to be like an indoor deep fryer, which I would definitely not use it indoors.
Yeah.
But it's designed to deep fry a turkey. So it's got like a turkey shaped bucket, and you put it in and then drop it in, and like the heating element's right there. It's all self-contained. It's got a lid.
Nice.
And you don't burn, you don't churn through propane. It hooks up to an outlet and stuff. So
nice.
Yeah, it's a killer way to do it, but you do have to be careful because if it does solidify inside there, like that, there's a thermocouple, like it's toast.
So are you supposed to fry the turkey frozen or not frozen?
No, you want
not frozen.
Zero water,
because you don't want any water. That's what blows it up, right?
That's what causes it to explode. Yeah.
So how do you fry frozen food at like fast food joints? How does that work?
Well, the trick is the open flame. That's what the trick is. What do you mean? So in a when you have an open flame propane sitting and then you've got a tube, the water, when it's exposed to oil, immediately turns to steam. It expands, but then it causes the oil to come out, and then that hits the flame.
Oh, I see. We're talking about a boil over sort of situation because of the water, not because the water and the oil. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, the water causes the oil to leave, but it's the oil hitting the fire. That's where the problem comes from. So that's why you can just throw like frozen fish sticks into oil and then they'll cook up, but they'll spatter and pop and go nuts. And this thing does have like a pretty hefty lid on it, because when you do need to be careful when you put it in, especially if you brined it and stuff. There's always water somewhere. But once you get it in and you throw the lid down, you can hear it just rolling in there, but there's no open flame, so it's not going to explode or anything crazy like that. But no, frozen, bad. Yeah,
especially
something of that size. Bad. Something of that size, like a turkey, you're asking for it.
Yeah, for sure. Eric, how was yours?
Idea. Oh, I'll tell you about mine, but before I forget it. So there's Butterball. I think we should start our competing one using roadkill called Gutterball.
Gutterball turkey. That sounds delicious.
Gutterball. You can have ham. Well, I guess it has to be roadkill. So you could maybe get wild turkey.
Is it essentially just hot dogs? Just Spam?
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of possum. Deer.
You could have chorizo.
Actually, that would be great because you wouldn't necessarily be premium versions, but it would just be like if you buy a Gutterball, you might get a deer, man. You might have a deer Gutterball. It could be skunk, but it might be deer, and that's kind of the fun of it.
Right. There's going to be regional favorites.
Probably going to be skunk, but maybe deer.
There's got to be some kind of
squirrel.
There's got to be some kind of roulette reference in there, like you're rolling the dice with the Gutterball.
Exactly. Maybe a future sponsor.
Yeah. Will it be a strike, a spare, or a Gutterball?
Turkey?
Or a turkey. Yeah.
Yeah, we should throw in a few extra turkeys in there. Thanksgiving could be a real turkey. Sounds
guaranteed
delicious.
1 in 20.
Yeah.
Road turkey.
Road turkey.
Yeah, what you guys do out there?
Mine, I did my usual, which is what everyone's was this year, which meant when I went to Whole Foods. So what I usually do is I just go to Whole Foods. I get the pre-made like containers of crap because I just do it by myself. I chill out, have a nice day to myself, watch a stupid movie, and partake. And so
cranberry
this year
sauce.
What?
In cranberry sauce,
Yeah, I partake in the cranberry sauce.
Okra.
So much cranberry sauce. So yeah, it's always going to Whole Foods, getting all that stuff. So it's just like a little version. It's like a step above doing a TV dinner for a single guy on his own. It's like the gourmand version of that. Gourmet. But this year, everyone else, because of the pandemic, did that. So I go to Whole Foods this year. None of those little pre-made things are there.
Yeah.
There's only giant turkeys left because no one can do a big traditional. So I was like, crap. So I went to another supermarket and just got the cheaper version of all that.
Yeah.
And did that. And you know what? I piled it all together, throw it in the oven, and it still was lovely.
Sounds delicious.
I still enjoyed it.
Nice.
And I watched Battlefield Earth.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's how you spent Thanksgiving?
That was my Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know if it's the best, but it's top 3.
Yeah. So my
Is this
last
where
year...
Is this where your gutterball turkey idea came from? Because he's like, let's see what they eat. If you were free, you would definitely eat your favorite food. Oh, they love the rat. They must love rat.
I think we should do this movie. Yeah. Oh, it's
we should definitely do
amazing. As whatever it was supposed to be, it's hot garbage, but
well, it's a novel. Like it's based off of a novel, but it's just in the execution of it. It's almost like they went through that, like it was like the uncanny mountain, not the uncanny valley, because it's like they had so much star power that they couldn't hide the star power. So it's like definitely John Travolta, and definitely like it was definitely these people.
All the non-big name aliens are totally look different than Travolta and what's his name?
Last King of Scotland. Yeah.
It's still an era of movies, like right on the cusp of that very end part where the stars needed to look like the stars, like just barely right on the edge of that, like what would you call
Monster
it?
And
yeah.
I want to disguise myself. I want to disappear in the role. Yeah, that was like nope.
I'm the title card. Yet. You should know it's me. Absolutely.
Because Tom Cruise is kind of the only guy left who does that. He's the only guy who still just looks like him.
He's the end of that era.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, because with Barry Pepper's in it. Is Orlando Jones in it as who plays the hologram in the library?
Oh, I don't know who that is because it's a CGI alien. So I don't know who did the voice. I didn't look that up.
No. When they go to the Library of Congress, when the humans go to the Library of Congress, there's that like...
In the Denver Library.
Was it the Denver Library?
They go to the Denver Library.
Oh.
And Barry Pepper immediately starts reading. He's like, "Oh yeah, we can't get too deep into it. We need to do it one of these."
I've never seen it, so it would be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. I'm writing it down. It's happening.
Yeah, that'll be on the list for sure.
Yeah. Sorry, Brian. Yeah. It's happening.
This is what happens when you don't show up.
That's right. When
we make
have
bad
really
choices.
Jobs with high pressure.
You're also now an investor in Gutterball. You're welcome.
Yeah. Majority shareholder.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can talk about that movie. Much.
Good. We're doing it.
No, I will on my other podcast.
I think we meant to watch a movie, but we just we ended up just kind of hanging out and like last Christmas I got that old school NES, the tiny little one that's got like 40 preloaded games. So we just played like some Mario Brothers.
Or like a simulator or
no, it was made by Nintendo.
Oh,
it was just the little guy.
Yeah, it's got all the games on it.
No, it's a Nintendo.
No, that was Sega.
Yeah. No, it's a Nintendo. Called? I'll show you later. It's later.
Yeah.
I've got the Sega version. It's a Sega Genesis. It's got 110 games or something on there.
Nice.
And so it's just all the games. And what's cool though is that you can arrange the games on the menu by year that they were released.
Oh, right.
So you can see the progression of how good games became. But what's funny is you also get to see that as Sega was more open source than Nintendo, so you can see that a lot more like terrible game makers were creating games towards the end, and there's some that are they're rough.
Interesting. So you can really see their history and go, that's why they disappeared. Maybe.
Yeah, and you can see the ones that had money behind them too, like the legit Sega games looked way different than the games that were made by other video game companies. But it's got Street Fighter 2 on it, which is super cool. The Championship Edition.
Not my favorite game, but one game I had was RoboCop vs. Terminator.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just like impossible because it was just all the shooting every second.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing.
I had cheat code, so I could go through the game on cheat code, but I was like, how is anyone? It's just like RoboCop walking, and it's just like 5,000 guns going. Shooting.
That's how the Contra game is on there. It's not the first. It's like Contra Hardcore, so it's like a future Contra, and it's just you're running through, and it's just little enemy guys shooting at you like just nonstop. And so I'm kind of like, is ADD a real thing, or was it born
manufactured
in our brains? As kids, because it's bonkers. Like I don't even know how you do it. I just started watching The Queen's Gambit. just popped on an episode, and it's funny because I was like, oh, the neuroplasticity of a child to like pick up chess, and to pick up video games. And as a 41-year-old, like trying to like what does Blanca do again? Trying to figure out 3 buttons is just out of my league completely.
That's a good after dark topic. Queen's Gambit.
Oh yeah. Be interesting to talk about a little bit. But this week we watched Skyfall, the James Bond. I forgot what year it was. I wrote it down and then I forgot my notes. 2016.
Maybe
No, I think that Scepter was 2016, and that was the most Spectre. Yeah, was the most recent one, and that was 2016, I think. So it's been like 5 years since a Bond movie came out. So it's a little before that, like 2012 maybe, but
it's in the Daniel Craig universe.
The third Daniel Craig, right?
Craig.
Yep.
Yeah. The odds seem to be the goodies, so hopefully this last one he does is
definitely.
I hope so.
End on a high note.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I've actually not seen Spectre. It kind of happened.
It's okay. It's tough. Like so the reason it's tough is because Skyfall tries to take previous Bond viewers back into what they are aware of. And what I mean by that is like we had 30 something Bond movies prior to the Daniel Craig series. Basically we got all the novels that Broccoli ever wrote. Or Ian
Fleming.
Ian Fleming, thank you. Yeah, Ian Fleming wrote, Broccoli bought. So we basically all through the novels that he wrote. So then they're like sitting there going, this is still making money. So then they pulled out the original Casino Royale, which is pre 007. He's just an agent, but it's now, like it came out nowish. So they introduced a new Bond with Daniel Craig, and everything is different. He's not a 00. It's more fighting than it is like smooth spy stuff. And everyone's kind of like, I don't like it. But then a bunch of people are like, that old stuff's antiquated. I'm ready for new. So people were in.
Especially coming from the end of the Brosnan movies,
right?
Where they were just like, there was some fun, but a whole lot of like,
just
what's happening?
Crazy town, right? So what they did was, they introduced Judi Dench's M, which everyone's like, no, M's a man, and then they have she's
the only carryover from Brosnan.
Yeah, because Judi Dench, it wasn't her first one, right? Casino Royale.
No, she had done a few Brosnan.
Okay, yeah. That's what I thought.
Well, then even like Q, the quartermaster, he's like legend in Bond space, right? So he has to come over too. But there's certain other things, and I'll get to them in a second, that didn't come over. So in the reboot, they're like, okay, here's some familiar, but then here's some new. So let's move on. So they do that stuff. What Skyfall does is basically put an end note on all of the Daniel Craig stuff that feels unfamiliar, and then loops you back into the stuff that we've become familiar with. Moneypenny is the secretary. M is the man. M also is in the famous padded 2-door office. That is like the stereotypical when Bond comes in for a new mission, he wings his hat in, winks at Moneypenny, and then walks through this double padded door into M's office. And then they have like the phone in his desk and they do all the conversation stuff. So all the MI6 stuff was just like, what? I mean, that's like later type stuff, or even with like the Pierce Brosnan era that's when that came about. Cause I mean, that building didn't even exist when the original Bond came out. Right. So they couldn't, but then this was that movie to like bring it back in. But then it was also, I think, I can't remember his name. I want to say Llewyn Davis, but I know that's not right. The guy who played Q.
In this one?
No. Well, in all the Bonds.
Oh.
I think before before Skyfall came out, I think he passed away. So it wasn't like so it wasn't like he didn't want to do the movie anymore. He literally couldn't do the movie anymore. So
was he in the other one?
Yeah, he was.
Daniel Craig. He wasn't Daniel Craig.
In the earlier ones, yeah, he's in it. Okay. And then wait. I think he's in Casino Royale, but then I think John Cleese.
It's John Cleese. That's who I thought it was.
There is a John Cleese.
Yeah.
But Was he in the Daniel Craig?
We're gonna find out.
I've only watched Skyfall a bunch.
It's been a bit. I need to,
Casino Royale a couple times. But...
I get a little murky because of all the time jumping that they do with it. So like all the stuff that you'd have to be like, oh, that's not a thing because this is technically still prequel territory.
Right.
But then they have like sequel type territory too. So you'll have to forgive us. But also they introduced the new Q, right? So there's a new M, there's a new Q, there's the new base because MI6 gets blown up. And so they're basically kind of like ushering you back into the familiarity with like, okay, so here's Moneypenny now, and here's the double door, and here's a Q character that's really smart, and
which really all comes to the very end of Skyfall.
Yes.
Like they set it all up, but you don't know, and at the very end, it's like, there you go.
Yeah. And that's why it's super good because it's a brilliant transition in, and it doesn't feel like they worked backwards. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like, even though they knew they had to get to this point, but it doesn't feel like they worked backwards. It all just flows so organically into it and becomes super good. The villain in this one is interesting because he plays the old school Bond villain who's just this like megalomaniac. I can do like a Dr. Evil type thing. Like, I'm just going to do a bunch of crazy stuff. Right. You can't stop me. And that's like old school Bond type stuff. Right. But then it's brought in with the modern technology, use of computers and stuff. And it's got some of that like Moriarty style. I'm 10 steps ahead of you, no matter what type stuff, which is really good. I mean, that's just super good. Some of it's so outlandish, like the subway train into the underground, and he makes the joke about the radio. Like
it's a lot.
you don't plan ahead for that. That's a spot joke.
Yeah.
But like in the time, if this was real in the timeline, you didn't sit there scheming out your plan saying, oh, they're going to catch me and he's going to make a radio joke. And then later on, I'm going to get him with a radio.
Well, I mean, it's like a good callback to, like Bond feels like he zings him in the moment he says it. And then he gets to be like, oh, a triple zing, buddy.
Radio. Yeah. So it's good though. But yeah, but it does that great job of again, marrying the two of like the old school zany Bond nonsense with the more modern, sleek, well thought out Bond stuff, so that you don't get these like bonkers villains that are, going to like the Moonraker stuff that want to create like the master race in space kind of, like you don't get that kind of nonsense.
Right.
But you still get like, his character is zany.
It's like the Batman movies, Christopher Nolan movies, where it's all the same. On paper, it's still really silly, wacky shit, but thrown through the filter of realism.
Yeah, exactly.
What I love about Skyfall, it's like in a very meta sense in terms of just the movie making of the franchise. I feel like Skyfall is like, it asks the question, should James Bond still exist? Should these movies still be made? Is there a place for them? And then the plot also does that, says, should MI6 be operating in the same way? Should a person, do we need secret agents? Are there shadows that these people need to operate in? Or is the 21st century advanced too far and we need to change our tactics? And so they literally put all that on trial in the movie and then prove with a resounding yes, it can still exist. It can still be awesome.
Yeah, we need it.
And we do need it. At least this specific movie form.
Right.
I'm all in.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a one-off. You can't really do that again. You can't keep putting the Bond on trial over and over at the way this movie
for
does.
sure.
So
yeah, I mean and in this movie and this has happened before, but they literally killed James Bond. Right? Like he disappears and then he comes back and he's not fit for duty and all that kind of fun stuff, which they kind of did with like Pierce Brosnan as well. He seduces the doctor or whatever to pass him after he gets his shoulder jacked up in the one with Christmas Jones with Denise Richards.
Tomorrow Never Dies.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a rough one. But when we were kids though, I mean,
Oh,
did it get any hotter than those two? Like in like that era? Because what did I have? Was it, I forget, it was like maybe like a video game magazine, or it was some kind of like monthly subscription I had when I was a kid, and the cover was that movie.
Was
and
it
I was
Nintendo
just like,
Power?
yeah, maybe like at 14 years old, you're just like, oh, it was just like crazy. I love movies that are moments in time of fame, of like the quintessential look of what famous looks like in an era, and that is 100% what famous looked like in like 1994.
Yeah.
That was the Jonathan Pierce one, right?
I think so.
Villain. He like it's fake news, isn't it? Fake news, or he's
No,
creating the news.
No, that's
That's
that
not
die another day.
Yeah, I think that's the one we're talking about though. That has what's her name in it. Because
No, Christmas
Tomorrow
Jones,
Never
Denise
Dies.
Richards.
Doesn't that one have Michelle Yao?
Oh, maybe.
That's like his second. I think that was the second one. Oh my
If
god!
only
We're
there
just
was
gonna sit here all night.
If only there
those
was
are
an
two different
online
movies, though.
resource for this.
Well, no,
That
those
Dr.
are
Spaghetti? Which one was
those are
that?
those are two different movies, right? The
I
Michelle
love
Yao
Dr.
one
Spaghetti.
is with Price with the he's controlling the news.
Yeah.
Jones is the one with Sophie Marceau where they're trying to create the pipeline, the oil.
They have the avalanche scene, right?
Yeah, and Denise Richards is like the most decorated nuclear physicist of all time.
Yeah, it is good.
I thought
It's his
Christmas
line at
only
the end.
came once a year.
I guess Christmas came early.
Yeah, that was how the movie ends.
I thought Christmas only came once a year.
Yeah.
Pow.
So I apologize. I'm a little distracted. Facebook's not working for some reason. So I'm redoing a live stream for the Facebook here. So
all of our misinformation of Bond details.
Yeah,
it's gone.
We're
It's
branded as
missed
fake
it.
news.
You've missed it. So when I was
let's
watching,
slate now and start over.
I want to know from you guys, like, so first of all, this is a gorgeous movie. It's beautiful. It's like, it's so beautifully shot, and there's moments that take you off guard just visually from like a cinematography standpoint that you don't expect to. One of which was when Moneypenny comes to his hotel room before the scene in Macau, and she's standing kind of in this doorway, and it's just like you couldn't light or shoot like a better scene. Like it just looks amazing. And the whole movie's full of that. But it's so slow.
Yes.
And it was like 40 minutes in and we still haven't seen Javier Bardem, and I haven't seen it since it first came out. So I was just kind of like, but I was in it to win it because I love Sam Mendes and I love Roger Deakins. I'm just like, I'm going for it, and I love, Daniel Craig as Bond. But my goodness, it is a clunky monkey when it comes to like pacing. You just like, you have to be like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
You have to sit there and be, you have to be, committed to it. But there's this whole feeling that I have of movies sort of like, not necessarily pre-COVID, post-COVID, but it's sort of like this era of movies right when it came out where the economy has been so good for so long, and you can spend money and do anything, and and they're coming up with more stories because we have to make another Bond movie, to the point where a movie like this almost doesn't feel like it's got anything new to say. It didn't feel like it had anything new to do. And so I was just kind of like the whole movie, I was like, because I knew how I didn't remember anything up to the point where they get to the deserted island. So I was like, so that whole time I was like, oh, I don't remember this movie.
And Bardem's hideout island.
Yeah. And then once you got to the desert island, I was like, oh, I remember what happens now. Now we have to chase him as a fake cop. Now we have to, have the bad sort of like the cheesy lines. And I was like, now I'm not really enjoying it. So, but yeah, so I was very 50-50 on this one, where it's like, it looks gorgeous, it's acted well, but the pacing is just clunky. It's just like super slow. Took me a while to get into it after that.
It's hard too, because the idea that they killed James Bond is it's like if you're watching Superman and they kill Superman in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's like, so now I got to watch Ben Affleck run around as Batman. Like, oh my God.
So that's basically Batman versus Superman. Wait,
yeah. You're just like waiting
League?
for Superman to come back. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
So that's hard. I mean, that's hard to do. And then, right.
Well, he's not gone though. We see him. We know he's around.
Yeah.
Right. But
the world doesn't.
But right. But there's no, they literally have to blow up their home base to pull him out of retirement, which is like this really bad mechanism to push the plot forward, because they show the funeral and her writing the epitaph and all this stuff. And you're like, so you're just kind of like, I get it. You're just kind of sitting back like, okay, so what am I doing here then?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what am I like? You haven't told me you had this computer hard drive get stolen, which if you weren't paying attention, you don't know you don't know what the drama is right away. If you're just more enamored with like the fight scene and the chase across the rooftops and you don't really kind of hear what they're saying, when you realize that they stole essentially like the knock list of undercover agents, if you don't catch that, there's no plot for you. Right?
I feel like they're pretty good at saying it all the time, so don't they? But I mean, it's true. If you miss it, then you're going, I don't know what the stakes are. Sure.
Yeah, but what you said was kind of, I think, where the movie is weird at first, because since you don't have James Bond for kind of a good chunk after the sort of the prologue of the movie, you also don't really have him until they get to Macau. So you're also dealing with this sort of like alcoholic, drug addict, super disconnected James Bond, and it's like super uncomfortable. So it's like,
I love it.
Yeah,
I love that part. That's great.
See, James
Bond makes this movie stand out for me.
Gotcha. See, that's the thing. I think that I should have. So here's the thing. I should have watched Casino Royale first, because what I needed is I needed a dose of I needed Dad back. I needed like James Bond as I know him. And then I should have watched Skyfall, because then you see the evolution of the character. Like, you don't want to just jump in. You don't want to just start Star Wars at the scene where Han Solo's getting put into carbonite. That's not a good place to start. So that's kind of what I did by not watching Casino Royale for so long. I probably should have got a good dose of the Omega watch wearing, Prada suit wearing Bond, and then go to the part where he's still sleeping with hot girls in the middle of the jungle. But, but a little bit of the disconnected drunk Bond. So I think that's where probably it failed for me, because I didn't have my proper context going into it.
Yeah.
Well,
and
it's different. So, I mean, I think that's interesting. I'd be curious how many other people that watched the movie had that same thought.
Yeah.
We're like, what's this? This isn't Bond.
Yeah. Well, even the rock bottom Bond is not so bad. Like, I don't want to make his
life is
that
pretty
way.
good. He's drinking Macallan on the beach.
Well, he's cool, but I don't. But he's like the Terminator that completed his mission, is going, what do I do now? I guess I'll go sell carpets and be in the
have family.
That's true, because when he's on the island or wherever he is, he's still got the women, he's still got the booze, but he didn't have a mission, so he was kind of lost.
You could see where he's just going to be so destructive.
Yeah,
I love the shot where it's at night, and he's got the scorpion on his hand, and everyone's betting, can he take the drink without getting stung by the scorpion? Will he do it? And he's get that. It's like this great shot, and then of course he does it. Boom! Everyone's cheering, and then hard cut to the next day.
Yeah,
and he's by himself, and
still
he's
there.
Still there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And it's like, oh yeah, that's what would Bond do if he didn't have something he had to do?
Yeah, didn't have
if he
something
was left
to kill.
to his own devices.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, not good.
No, that's a good point. I think that's not that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the movie. I think it's a killer film. but I think that
you could disagree.
No, but I think just contextually, I should have had the context of leading up to this. When a guy sacrifices king and country, and then country decides to take the shot and possibly kill him.
Oh, right.
That
the
that
gravitas.
really
You
goes
weren't there
awry.
yet, right?
Yeah, I wasn't there yet in the whole thing because that prologue is super short. It's quick from the time where he shows up to where he disappears is quick, and so you're not really.
It opens with him busting into the safe house, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's almost like it's almost like whichever is the one that's right before. It's almost like you need to watch that one and then parlay right into this one because it's already starting like halfway up the mountain and climbing, and it's like so there's this gravity that also needs to be there when you go in to watch it cold, and that's why I was saying I think people might miss what the mission is because you're immediately ramped up into like this chase, and he flips over a laptop like the hard drive's gone, like I don't know what this is, like what is it, and then he's got some key card around his neck and they're on a train and she's like I'm gonna take the shot, you're like and like what are we missing, like
which gets cleared up immediately, which is nice because it clears it up right away with M in the car with her assistant. I forget who he is really, but
Frankie Picklebottom.
Yeah, he's so great. Oh, Frankie.
Or F. It's just F.
Yeah.
Right.
I thought F was a random letter. I didn't realize it stood for Frankie Picklebottom.
Yeah.
Now you know.
That reminds me. There's a moment towards the end when Albert Finney's character at Skyfall meets M for the first time. And Bond introduces her as this is M, and Albert Finney's character says, "Lovely to meet you, Emma." And she doesn't correct him. And suddenly we just realize, I just realized, oh my God, that's her name, which is something that is brought up in Casino Royale, where Casino Royale, he says, James Bond breaks into her apartment and breaks into her computer in like really early in the movie. And he says, I thought M was a randomly assigned letter. I didn't realize it actually stood for, and she goes, say another word and I'll have you killed, or something like that. So she stops him before he says her real name. So it's like, oh, her real name was Emma. That's kind of sweet.
They paid that off 2 movies later.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you hadn't, because one, you don't necessarily assume that the gamekeeper knows what James does for a living. Right, you assume that he's in like the import-export business, the standard running gag, right? So I always took it as when he introduces M, the old guy just mishears it and thinks he's saying Emma because he says her name like 2 or 3 times as Emma. So I always took it as like they did that. He got it wrong, but he's definitely not going to correct him. Be like, oh no, actually, it's just the letter M. He's like, yep, old man, it's Emma.
I was hoping it was like a nice double entendre, but who knows?
Yeah, no, but
it could work both ways.
If you'd forgotten about that stuff earlier, it's like that little Easter egg type thing of like, I have a little bit of like spicy knowledge down here that fits into there and makes it a little bit better too.
Yeah,
but.
Speaking of spicy knowledge, real quick, the Facebook feed is not working. I don't know what's going on here, but it just looks like maybe Facebook Live is just having a rough day. So
it's having an off day.
Let me see. I'm gonna take a peek here real quick.
Having a case of the Mondays.
Yeah, sure
Thursday?
is. Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. I'm gonna have to do a quick little post.
Everybody's trying to do Facebook Live.
Yeah, maybe.
Nonsense.
Who knows?
Flooded them.
Our 500,000 viewers are there anxiously
waiting. Oh, maybe our feed blew up because too many people were like, "We love Skyfall. We can't wait to watch it." Yeah. All right, I'm gonna share
live for
this
Skyballs.
real quick. Yeah, let's go to Skyballs.
The retired Sky Mall magazine. Of our Black Friday
where
sale.
It would be dodgeball on trampolines, maybe Skyball. That's what my other business, along with gutter ball. It's all ball, apparently.
It's all ball related.
All balls all day long.
I love balls.
Everything I do is related to balls.
All right, I'm going to grab the YouTube link and link that up here in the Facebook. So if anyone wants to watch, they can come on over to the YouTube.
Please
Tube it up, bros.
Tube it up.
Let's see we talked about how, like if you didn't know Deakins, if you did know Sam Mendes, there are markers for sure in this movie, and one of them, like a Mendes marker, is, you're right, these long plotted scenes of dialogue that's almost like theatrical dialogue, but for film. The stereotypical Deakins stuff, the best example of that is when you meet Agent Silver for the very first time. So Bond is tied up in a chair. There's all these server racks, and he comes down this kooky little elevator and is completely out of focus.
Right.
But as he's walking towards you, doing his big long speech, it never focuses on him until like right when it needs to, and then it's Javier Bardem. Yeah, that's like classic stuff. But then there's Deakins loves to do these long shots with naturally created angles that force you in. So when you look at that server rack, like there's a stone walkway that boom vanish points in. All the server racks are vanishing point in. Even when she's looking at the MI6 gets exploded, and she's standing next to all the coffins. They're all wearing the Union Jack, but again, it's this long shot where everything is just.
She's behind a bunch of them at the very back of the
room,
room.
and they're almost all like uniquely, like they're perfect.
Yeah, so it looks like a Time magazine portrait of something in like history that's been captured a moment.
Yeah, and Deakins loves to do that stuff, but he also did things which are ultra brilliant too. When Bond is hunting the guy who shot him and has the uranium bullets, he goes to Shanghai, but they go up into that building, which is just a bunch of glass walls and glass doors. And he's backlit it with these giant signs, which exist. They're real, but the way that they deal the reflections and the fact that like Bond is aware of it, and he opens a door at one point, and then they get this amazing shot of how the reflection of like the jellyfish has completely masked out Bond, so that the guy doesn't know. I mean, he probably knows that he's there, but you can't see it. Like we know it, but to the general user looking at it, it's like he's perfectly masked using this like awesome like House of Mirrors reflection type stuff.
Right.
But when you're tracking James Bond, you never lose the physical perspective of where things are. Yeah. So you know that the guy's like 3 rooms over, like 2 rooms down, even though there's this glass menagerie through the whole thing, and you just get this amazing tracking shot where you get to watch the perspective shift in front of you and the light bounce around, and it's so good. It's just like, it's such a stroke of a great inspirational idea of like, because on paper it's this. Assassin is on a target. James pursues assassin and takes him down. That's what's on paper. But then somebody creative comes in and says, "Why don't we?
Let's go cyberpunk with this."
Yeah, like because like Shanghai and Macau and stuff, they're known for these giant lit up billboards and all this stuff. Like it's a big bright city, and I love that they were like, we have to use that. Like that has to be part of this. And then they milked it into a way that like it just, even the fact when he opens the door and he gets the reflection and he's completely masked by the reflection, that's just so good. That's just really good.
Well, the whole thing, the variety I think that the movie has, where it's that, like I say, it's like the cyberpunk, this very futuristic city with the glass, the neon, all these reflections and high tech projections, and then at the end it's just this like very small middle of nowhere building, big home in Scotland,
right,
like,
right up
like
in the
when
moor,
they say restoration era, like it's centuries old, so like it's spanning. The very beginning of the movie is in one place, and that's picking up that flavor, and it just bounces all over the place. And that's another thing I really like, which all the Bond movies try and do. It's all kind of
their location use is another. It's a signature, right? It's a Bond signature that you're gonna go to at least like one beach, something with snow or sand,
right?
Some sort of huge metropolitan complex, and then probably like a little town on the outskirts. Like those are the 4 things no matter what. And you know what? If you mix in some underwater,
yeah,
then
yeah, underwater's the maybe. Yeah, those ones always stand out. That's true.
Those are like, as a kid, Thunderball was my all-time favorite, just because of all the underwater fight scenes that are so ridiculous. But the idea of these like underwater armies marching at each other,
takes
like in this like slow like water bounce, because you can't run underwater, so it's like
shooting spears slowly at each other.
Oh yeah, the spear guns. Oh man, everyone's going for the air hoses. It's so good. It's so bad, but it's so good. Yeah.
That's one of the things though that makes, I mean, this movie in particular so great is those location changes, that every area, every location has this particularly unique color palette. And the thing that Deakins is not afraid of, because he's really, I mean, he has his own like gaffer, but as a director of photography, he operates camera, but he lights things in a way that other people just do not. And so, and I like one of the things that he does so well is that yellow golden hue that like in Macau, when they're at the bar, at the casino, there's that perfectly symmetrical shot when they're sitting at the bar and you've got all the China balls kind of like lined up going back to where the guards are. Very similar look and feel in the softness and the feel to the scene in Blade Runner in Jared Leto's house, his little like area with all the yellow lights, and just incredibly symmetrical stuff that he likes to do. And you saw that too, also with the building with the assassin, all the windows that looked very Blade Runner-y. It had that same sort of like, you know, neon. Your lighting was your reflection. But the thing that like blows my mind, and I want to know how he does this, is like the scene where James Bond is arriving on Macau. He's on the boat and he's arriving, you know, up the thing, and there's all these like little lanterns everywhere and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he's in focus, but pretty much everything is, which is super hard to do to get
like a low light.
Yeah, and I'm just like, how did you shoot this scene? Because he's shooting it at like at least like f11, which is like way closed off. There's like no light coming into your camera. And so I'm just like, how did you shoot this to make it look like this, like look as dark as it looks, but everything is in focus? Like those are the things that he does that I think very few movies can do. But the thing is, in order to pull that off, you have to have some unreal production design. Like you have to have the entire set perfectly dressed. Because typically when you shoot out of focus elements, part of the reason, at least that I do it a lot, is because I'm hiding some element of the set that is not well dressed.
Sure.
So, but when you shoot super closed off and everything is in focus, you need it all to look perfect. And this movie, everything looked perfect. Like it was like dialed in to the T in terms of production design. It was crazy.
Yeah, well, and especially to the point where when it's out of focus, like the entrance of Silver, it's out of focus on purpose. Like that's not bad camera work. That's not. But then even like like you said, the server racks aren't the standard nerdy wall mount server racks. They're this like open air, like they're almost like skyscraper. I mean, it's definitely by design.
Yeah,
it's supposed to look like a skyscraper. So he's a god amongst men type of thing. He's definitely an egomaniac.
Mimicking that. I mean, I'm just thinking of this. Maybe it's not supposed to, but I feel like it's mimicking that island. So like, that island that he occupies, what did he do? A fake like nuclear?
He did a chemical spill or something like that. Yeah, like it's not quite a Chernobyl type.
He said there was a chemical leak.
Idea.
Yeah, right. So yeah, he used the interwebs and made the city think they have to evacuate immediately. And so it's just like this desolate, weird place with all these kind of big buildings, very blocky cement, cube-shaped things.
Yeah.
And then you have these servers that are sort of tying into that same thing and dilapidated. The whole island. You can
exactly.
It's
like all open and broken and
it's been a hot minute that it's been deserted and falling apart. And so, yeah, you see these servers, and it mimics that visually.
Absolutely. Yeah, that wasn't an accident. That's on purpose.
And we can't say enough too about how good Javier Bardem is. He's like a frustratingly good actor. He can just kind of do everything, and he's just so good and so dialed in. There's not a single moment that you don't believe him. The best moment in the whole movie for me is the movie is not about James Bond. The movie is about this guy's vendetta against M, and all Javier Bardem's character wants to do is kill her. But he gets to the end where she has been hurt, and he genuinely is like, oh no, you're like,
look what
you're
they've done
hurt.
to you.
Look what they've done to you, which is 50-50. I'm sad that you're dying, and the other 50% is I'm sad I didn't see how it happened because I wanted to kill you. So he does. Yeah. So he's like, so now I'm going to turn the gun on you and kill you for myself. And so his complexity is just so brilliant. What do you think, Eric?
No, so when we're talking, I just had this moment, and it feels like it's probably how they were approaching it too, is we talk about Bond, and when he dies, quote unquote, and he's on the beach, he has no mission, he has no nothing. And I think Bardem's character, it's the same thing, because he gets to... all the setup works. He gets imprisoned. They think they've got him. It's all part of his plan. He breaks out, and he goes to where she's being put on trial again for should MI6 operate? Should you have a job? And he goes there and breaks in with his guys, and they start trying to shoot up everyone. And he's got her. He's got the gun, and he's pointing it at her, and he can't pull the trigger. And and so she ends up getting away. He hesitates, and then what's his name?
Ray Fiennes.
Future M.
Yeah.
Fiennes comes in, saves her. He gets shot in the shoulder.
Yeah.
Anyway, she gets away. And at the very end, when he's like, okay, I'm going to do it. Here we are. He's like, do us both. Like, he doesn't want her to die and then him have to live past it. It's like, I just want to do this, and then that's it. And so I think earlier when he's like, well, if I just shoot her, then what am I going to do?
Yeah.
It's over.
And that's what makes her such a fascinating character, that when you know she's going to die, it ruins the movie, because you know that the movie is leading up to that. And it's a bummer because she's such a great actress, obviously, such a great character. But she has this really interesting perspective as a character where she's just like it's never the right decision. I just make a decision and roll with it. It's like, yeah, sure, I spent 10 years training you to be a 00 agent, but if I think the best thing to do is kill you, I'm going to kill you. And that is the worst thing about my job, but it's what I have to do. And so she's she's super cold about the fact that she has like these really, really, really strong feelings, where she's just like, I just have to make a call. Like, it doesn't have to be the best decision, but it has to be a decision. And I love that about her character, where she just kind of like doesn't mind saying, yeah, I shot you. That's how it works.
What
sometimes.
Do you want? Yeah. When he shows up and it's just like, comes back from the dead, and she's just like, where have you been?
Yeah.
And it's like, would you want an apology? And also, you're not sleeping here.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah, because he's like, I'll just go home. She's like, no, we sold you a flat. Like, that's what we do for unmarried, next to kin agents who die in the field.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll get a hotel. She's like, yeah, you're not staying here. Like,
toodaloo. And only when she's gotten out to Scotland, and it's like she's been pulled away enough from everything that she can kind of really start reflecting. And then you get those glimmers of her being like, I've just made a big mess of everything, haven't I?
Yeah.
Now I have to really think about it. When I had the job, the last thing I could do was think about it.
Yeah.
Because part of my job is to do and keep moving forward. Yep.
Yeah.
And it plays into it uses the whole like British, not just like the stiff upper lip thing, because that's kind of like her thing is just got to do the job and suffer through it, and big boys don't cry sort of thing. But it also like is the ridiculous politeness of the British people, where they're like, so her like assistants getting all of these instant messages, get her out, she's in danger, she's gonna get killed
during the trial, when she's having to testify.
Well, she does need to talk. Let's let her talk first, and then I don't want to interrupt. This
Wait,
sort
it's
of
like, I'm not.
thing.
She said something like,
Well, it's the woman.
"I'm not going to
that's
show her my
grilling
back
her.
now."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The
it's
woman that's
wonderful.
grilling her is like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Like, are you distracted? Can you?"
Yeah.
not
Do I
listen?
have your full attention or something like
And then
that?
she's like, "Oh yes, of course.
Yeah.
Please continue."
It's fine.
Yeah,
My
like,
life's in
please
danger, but fine.
Keep berating me by all means. Yeah.
And Ben Wishaw's great. He's a great Q. I think that he's gonna. I mean, is he gonna be? Is he still continuing as Q? And and he's. I mean, I love him. He's a great actor, and he's great in Fargo, in that as well. And
Well, it's a good choice to go young, so there's a longevity there.
Because it's computer based, and you want to have that sort of like that trope of the young nerdy computer guy sort of thing.
Right, especially if the direction now is, I mean, they make the joke like, what were you expecting, an exploding pen? Like, if they've kind of made the statement that like there's going to be gadgets, but it's not going to be the bonkers like laser in the wristwatch type stuff anymore. It's just not. We're not going to do that because
we will eventually.
You can MacGuffin your way out of everything that way. You know, you can ex machina like, oh, I'm stuck underwater. Now I've got exploding underwater gum in my pocket. Like, all right. Like, come on.
My bat belt had shark repellent.
Yeah, which is that's what's great about that stuff, though. I mean, I can almost use some bat repellent or some shark repellent. So I have never seen Aquaman, except that on Thanksgiving it was on TV and my dad was watching it, and so I joined in for like the last 40 minutes of the movie. I've never seen that level of garbage.
Stupid.
So
dumb. It's wonderful.
Yeah, but so convincingly done to the point that it almost was 1960s Batman type of thing. Like
it's full
Willem Dafoe in a ponytail floating away. It was just out of control, man. And then what's his name?
I have not laughed that hard in the movie theater.
No, they did what they needed to do, which was
that movie
to take years. They needed to rip the joy out of comic books and make that into a movie. Like, it had to be outlandish. It had to be over the top.
For sure, because DC
what are you
was
gonna
too.
do with Aquaman?
Yeah, you need Dolph Lundgren as an underwater king.
But what's crazy though,
have to do that.
And I had this thought, and I was just like, you're just being picky because I'd watched, it's a lot. That movie's a lot. But
it's also
I was just
really long. It's like 2.5 hours.
Is it really? Yeah.
It's a long movie.
Because I caught it at the point where they were fighting the Bugman for like the last time. So like the last, so fighting Bugman, and then he discovers his mom, and so that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm watching this.
It's like Power Rangers level.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And he goes and he like fights off the giant squid to become the king, and he pulls the sword out of the stone, and then he's standing in this waterfall with these giant gauntlets that go like this. And my first thought was, like, a lot of water is getting in your gloves, bro.
Right.
Because they're like giant, all this, and this rainwater is just like falling in there. And I was like, you're just being picky. Well, I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, and they were like got on the tangent of Aquaman, and they showed that picture. And the first thing that the comedian on the show was like, dude, that looks like he's got a lot of water in his gloves. I was like, good, thank you. I was validated.
I'm sure
finally.
If there was if he was mic'd up at all, you can just hear.
Yeah. Yeah. And his boots too. His boots have the fins. So it's just like boots and gloves just covered in water.
Squish, squash, squish, squash, squish, squash.
I just don't even, those movies make a lot of money, so you can spend a lot of money on them, but it's just utter nonsense. Just constant whale riding, shark riding nonsense. It's
Willem Dafoe
bananas.
riding a hammerhead shark.
Yeah.
You're like,
right. It's so
Give it
crazy.
to me.
Well, no, and like you
give it to me.
You have to go there. Like, you can't teeter on the line of
no.
reality.
You have to go all the way.
Just all like full throttle, super ridiculous. The fact where did you see where she eats the rose when they're in like the Italian villa?
Yeah.
I don't think
so.
It's like a Disney princess moment where the fish out of water. Literally,
he takes her on the land, and it's like Little Mermaid, and he's showing her stuff.
No, I wasn't.
And she she sees people eating like pasta or something. So then she grabs a flower and just like, nom, nom. And he's like, okay, whatever.
And he's like, oh, you. And she's like, what?
So when does Aquaman take place in the canon of Justice League? Where is that?
It's post.
It's after Justice League.
It's post Justice League, but it's confusing. And
so
we
he's
talked
not
about
Aquaman
this.
yet. He's not like the king yet.
No, this is
just Ocean Bro still. At this point.
Yeah, this. We talked. I remember we talked about this. Was that because in Justice League, Mera comes to him and says,
right.
Oh no, he goes to Atlantis.
He has to go to Atlantis
to the Mother Stone.
Right. Oh, that's right.
The Mother Box.
Yeah. The Mother
and they
Box.
have their little tete-a-tete or whatever. But then in Aquaman, when the wave comes and wipes out his hometown and Superman doesn't show up to save the day, bullshit. She like pops out of the water and he's like, who are you now? Like, you know who that is. What are you talking about? Like, you guys had a whole thing. Like, you know who she is.
Yeah.
And then it makes you think back to like, so when he went in Justice League and he's like, I need to borrow some stuff. And he comes back with like the trident. Like, that's obviously not the King's trident.
Right.
Or
yeah, I don't know. There's
like
too many tridents.
No, he got that one off eBay.
That's why I was confused the whole
It's the wish.com
time.
version. But yeah, so the timeline of Aquaman is supposed to be post Justice League, but there's definitely some like script conflict.
Yeah, I don't get it. Maybe hopefully the new Justice League will clear all that up.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited now. It's almost January.
Yeah. I'm excited about Wonder Woman because that's coming out soon.
They're just going to dump everything right on digital.
Yeah. On HBO Max, yeah.
Yeah. Which is
smart.
Came out today.
Actually have that.
Just do it.
Well, I mean, yeah.
I should have it. I pay for HBO.
Yeah, you should have it.
The cables. I just haven't bothered researching it yet.
Yeah, we hooked it up for... we made sure we had it. We watched. What did we watch? It was something that was on HBO Max.
I think that's the thing.
But it's
coming soon.
It doesn't matter. We got it hooked up. We watched something on HBO Max, so we're good to go now because it's part of our Cox bill. It's part of our package, so I get it.
Whoa, language.
Whoa, easy.
My Cox monthly.
So we got off the rails there for a second. So let's go through real
James
quick.
Bond.
Our likes and dislikes.
Yeah. What would be your cringe moment and favorite moment? And go.
I can go. So my cringe moment is the casino manager in Macau. That whole concept that she was like part of like the Macau sex trade that is supposed to be running things, but then is secretly like at the whim of Javier Bardem. And then they go to his island and he's like, oh, pretty. And then he shoots her. That whole thing was like, this is stupid. Like that just, her whole role in that was dumb. Like it's a fun little like kitschy, like it's a thing. And it allows him to have sex with a hot woman on a mega yacht. But in general, her character was just like, this is stupid. This is just dumb.
Yeah.
Because there's a million ways he gets to that island. You know what I mean? Like that thing's got to be pumping out so many BTUs of energy and taking so much information. I guarantee they can track it down. So it's like he doesn't need to get this sex slave girl killed kind of thing. This is stupid. My favorite part. Oh, another cringy moment. Sorry, I have two cringy moments.
Nice.
Is every time Daniel Craig runs. I don't know what it is about this movie, but he looks like an animatronic, like he's on a treadmill, and they're like, it's like when they try to make people look like they're running faster than they're supposed to be able to. Yeah. He's just got this real hoppy,
on the ice. When he's running across the ice, it's just like, what is happening?
It's the whole thing where you can see everyone's like tenderly walking because there's branches and crap everywhere, and then he's like full out sprinting.
Yeah. But that's my other cringe is him running, and because he runs in other movies and it looks fine. So I don't know if it was maybe the way that they set up the shots.
The camera's kind of like low looking up.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Favorite parts, I loved the transition of old Bond into new Bond into old Bond, where it gets you so naturally back into the comfort zone, but not feeling forced or reverse engineered. That's my favorite part of this movie.
Yeah.
Because the plot is dumb.
Well, it's the same. It's the same as Goldeneye. It's just a maligned
it's
former
the
agent.
revenge
That's
plot
all it
thing.
is.
Yeah, it's like the revenge, the agent who was tortured and realized nobody's coming to save him. So then he rebels and says, "I'm gonna get revenge, but I'm super wicked smart. Watch me work." And then he's got like I'm 2 steps ahead. So all that stuff was like, bah. So it does make me miss like the old Bond stuff where it's like even Goldeneye, while it was a revenge plot, was like, well, we've got this like world melting laser in space. And I'm gonna point it at you now.
Well, that's it had the whole Soviets versus the world thing going for it because it was right at the tail end of the Cold War. So it still had that thing where the Russians were the bad guys. So which is kind of like a much more fun bad guy, especially when your former agent's working with them. The lone wolf thing. Yeah, he's not working with Iraq or something like that. Yeah.
A flagless, which is in the movie straight up.
Yeah,
it's like, our enemies are not, not aligned to a flag. They're not whatever. They're just
they don't have a country.
Yeah.
So that's mine.
Eric.
I would say, I think my cringe is probably him sleeping with what's her name, the sex trade lady, probably when he walks in there. Now, granted, this one's not as bad as the Spectre scene where he sleeps with a lady whose husband had just been murdered by maybe him, I can't remember, who murders this lady's husband, and then he just like sleeps with her, and there's like that one's I'm like, I was shocked in whatever year it came out. I was like,
that's solid, even if you're
canceled?
Shocked. Yeah.
Is James Bond getting canceled? This is very cancelable, I think. If you want to say problematic, I hate that word, but anyways, this one has a tinge of that where it's I guess they're setting up that they're kind of flirting, and she's like, well, if you don't get murdered by my bodyguards, then meet me on my boat at this time. We set sail
in 1 hour.
And somehow miraculously I'm not going to be scared because in the shower is probably the most vulnerable spot I'll ever be, and I won't jump when you touch me. It's just like, what?
Yeah, she's showering and he just is naked,
Mosey's on in,
walks in and just goes to town, and she's fine. Yeah.
And obviously he doesn't have any prophylactic with him. So he has no worries that she's been in the sex trade since she was 13. So
I mean, it's James Bond. Like he's carrying everything.
That was very cringy. So. Yeah.
And he's probably like, she's probably going to die. So whatever.
Yeah.
I've already got everything.
Yeah.
Whatevs. Let's do this.
Let's do this.
There's a lot of moments I like. I do like that he gets shot by what turns out to be Moneypenny. His own government shoots him. He falls into the water, and then it goes straight into the opening credits of Skyfall and Adele's song. I think that's great. That first scene, I don't know. There's a lot of moments I do like. When I rewatched that beginning chase scene, I was like, oh, this kind of starts a lot. I was less excited about the motorcycles and all that, but it just kind of keeps transitioning. And then once it got onto the train and he's in the excavator and he's using the bucket as a shield as the guy's shooting at him with like the automatic pistol, RoboCop's Beretta. And then he's like knocking cars, off the train. And then the guy disconnects the train cars. And so he's got to use the bucket and grab on.
Yeah.
And it's scraping the thing open, and he just runs up on top of the arm, jumps off the bucket right into the train
adjust the
car.
Yeah, he adjusts. I like
himself,
that,
even though he's screwed up and he's bleeding, and he kind of looks very haggard already. He's like tries to pull it off. Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of moments. The Bardem when the cyanide.
Yeah.
Talking about that, where it's like, again, the Trepalev or whatever with the 006, Sean Bean, those years ago he has that, but it's not that, this character bit down on the cyanide capsule and expected to die, and he didn't.
Yeah.
And it burned and just like melted his insides. And so to see him just pull that piece, that dental
Prosthetic
piece out, and it's like his cheek and everything just like caves immediately.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, we're building up good reason for him to want to murder M. Okay.
That was my favorite part. That was my favorite part from like when I saw it, because I saw it in the theater when it first came out, and like on the big screen, and I think special effects in that moment, I was just like, whoa, so good. And that they paid attention to detail, that he had the implant went all the way up to his cheekbone, and it kept his cheekbone in and stuff. That was, but what he does, the
sound
before that, the pop and everything. Before that though, because he's already this petulant child where everyone's walking out and he's just like trying to get his point across, where he's like, do you realize what cyanide does to a person? Like, so he's hammering it home. And I love it. He's so good in that scene.
Mm-hmm. And then after, when he just laughs.
Yeah.
And that's where you're like, okay, this guy's got the goods, because so many people could do that laugh and it would be like, oh boy. And he does it and you're like, oh God, he's unhinged. And he's dangerous. All right, let's get going.
Let's do this.
Right.
I would say that the cringe moment was definitely the shower scene for sure. So we're all on the same page on that one. And besides, like, shower sex is like wildly overrated.
Like, it's just not... Well, it looks great. You think it looks like it should be great.
Yeah, it's just not. The body is its own lubrication. So, but I think that what I hate I hate Javier Bardem's hair. And so when he walks in 2012 or whenever this movie came out, I thought it was awesome. 2020, it's just like, does it have to be blonde? Like, can you just make him look normal? Because
yeah,
you
don't need like the albino bad guy.
We've already done the No Country for Old Men bowl cut. Let's just have his hair just be normal. So that was kind of cringy, as well for some reason this time around. I don't know what it is. And then
I never was a fan of that. So.
Yeah. Yep. And then I don't know what it was about. So I think Ralph Fiennes' character is set up to be such a badass because he was like tortured by the IRA and he was just like this war hero basically. But then there's that moment where he goes to grab the gun in the sort of Parliament area, and he gets up and he looks like a baby deer on drugs, scrambling, and he's like, his arm is out like a kid who can't balance. And I was just like, what is going on? Like, they should have, like, really should have, the stunt coordinator been like, can you be a little bit cooler when you stand up?
Like,
and
he
run
should
for the
have
gun?
gotten movement training.
Yeah, exactly. But I did love that moment. I love the moment where James Bond winks at him, where he sees him. Yeah. He's got the gun. He shoots him, and so he kind of like nods to him, like, "All right, you're not so bad. Like, we can do this together."
And then shoots the fire extinguisher.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. But I mean, overall, it's a fantastic movie. What did it get when you saw it the first time, Nico? Were you doing your ratings back then?
Ooh, I don't know.
What would it get now?
It's not a 5. Bonds are tough because it probably would be a 3, like a hard 3 though, because I don't know what I would nominate it for.
Yeah,
I mean, cinematography, sure. So maybe that bumps it to a 4 for cinematography. But at the time, because of what Bond movies are supposed to be, it's definitely not like screenplay or anything like that. Like, it's not the whole like Home Alone thing at Skyfall is like, this is fun, but this isn't James Bond.
It was
what I mean?
The Predator thing, like setting up the traps and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
that was a little.
For me, that was like, I know you have to do this, and this is still technically like raw James Bond, not refined James Bond. But the Skyfall Home Alone stuff, Skyfall is the name of James Bond's boyhood home for people who haven't seen it yet. Spoiler. Well, that's why I say it that way.
Sorry, folks, if you've been listening to this.
Yeah. So that's the kick. That's the kick of the title, is that the title of the movie is the name of his boyhood home. So
it's the first time ever that we've gotten any glimpse into his backstory.
Right.
a lot of that deep of
At
one
least
for sure.
Yeah.
like that
Yeah,
far
there's
back,
scratches from
beyond
time to time.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think because of that kind of stuff, maybe it's a hard 3. But for cinematography, it might kick it up to a 4. I don't want to say because I know it's Deakins that it automatically gets a 4.
Right. It kind of doesn't hurt
But
though.
it's in second viewing. There's definitely a different appreciation for that. It's kind of like when you watch a movie for the first time and you have no idea who's in it, who shot it, who did any of it. You just soak it in and take it in for what it is. But then once you know, like, oh, this is Sam Mendes and this is Deakins and this is Javier Bardem, who at the time was like, I'm kind of famous. Now he's atmospheric. You go back with a different lens, pun intended, when you watch it.
Oh yeah.
So you do see the Eakins touch of like the long focal point shots, the non-focus scene on the introduction to the bad guy. There's all that stuff that like second viewing after a marinade, it's like probably a 4.
Yeah.
But first one, I think because the plot is so kind of like maybe like a hard 3.
Yeah.
Three's a tough category. It's a bell curve. So
Interesting.
It's like a
I
3
think that's why
on the
I
edge
like
to 4.
this. I think that's why I like this movie, because it is so different. It like forces him out of
Right.
his usual.
yeah, I mean, I don't
doesn't get to be
hate it.
comfortable in this movie, and so that's what I do like, and I think but I get that. I think it's a unique perspective. The other thing that they use, the visual, and that pays off at the end, is this version of Bond is the British Bulldog, right? He's not like the pretty suave guy, like he's not like a Pierce Brosnan or like a Sean Connery type, and so he's always stood out a little differently, where you're like, oh, they've cast this guy. That I was talking to a friend the other night, and he's like, yeah, this guy. Oh, it came up because when we were talking about Idris Elba, people are like, cast Idris Elba. He's too old. It's probably the reason why you shouldn't. But one producer got in trouble because he said, oh, he's too street. It was like, really? Is that your answer for you don't want a black guy? But it's like, but you're saying that while you have the most street version of a Bond character. And my friend,
this is like Guy Ritchie does Bond.
Yeah, it's like, this is MMA fighter James Bond. This is the guy that would be in the docks beating people up. And so to parallel the British Bulldog and like this loyalty to M, especially that he just keeps going. That's the thing that I love about this movie. It's specific to this one, I feel too. It's like when they get to where she's in the chapel and Bardem's about to go there and it's about to end. He's going to go kill her and it's going to happen. And Bond just won't give up. And he gets caught and they're on the ice. And Bardem's like, dude, are you done yet, man? Like, let's call it a day. And then Bond grabs the guy's gun and they shoots and they fall in the ice. And Bardem's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. He's like, I'm not here to kill you, man. He's almost like,
why won't you
bro,
just
we're
stop?
cool.
And then when he throws the knife at Bardem at the end, kills him, saves the day, kind of almost. And Bardem's just like, why won't you just let me get my revenge? I want to die. Just let me kill her. He's literally just like wringing his
right on the edge.
Yeah. And then at the end, M, her gift to him, she leaves him the bulldog that he hates, but it's like, that's what you are. You're the loyal dog that won't give up. You're not the prettiest, but boy, we love you. You get
You're
the job
good in a
done.
fight. Nice and scrappy.
Yeah, you're scrappy as hell. Yeah. How'd you score in your training? Awfully.
40%.
But you know what? You got it where it counts, kid.
Right. It's not the prettiest dog at the show.
Yeah. All these other pretty dogs, they wouldn't make it this far.
He's like the Millennium Falcon.
That's right.
Yeah. He's not the prettiest, but he's got it where it counts.
Fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy.
Yeah. Oh, Skyfall. So looking forward to the 2021 film, whatever it's called. What is it called?
A Good Day to Die?
Yeah.
No, never. No, don't. What is it called?
Don't say never say tomorrow never dies.
Yeah,
it's definitely something with tomorrow never die good. Let
me look it up here.
God, what is it?
Well, because it's the Billie Eilish did the title track. I thought it was like A Good Day to Die or something like that.
Oh, maybe.
If I'm right.
Good day to die. Let's find out. Let's find out who's right.
Survey says
No Time to Die.
no time,
to die.
Yes.
Oh, so close.
And
I had
also
some-
Knives Out 2 has been announced. So
Knives Out 2?
yeah.
How do you make a sequel to Knives Out?
I think it's like anthology. I think it's a different.
Do you follow? Oh, do you follow the investigator? So they're doing a
Mhm.
Which I'll
an
take-
Orient
I'll take
Express
another
type
one of
thing.
those. Yeah.
And Agatha Christie. It's all right as long as Johnson writes it. I like him. He's good.
Yeah, and and I'm sure after the success of that and the vitriol he got from Star Wars, I'm sure he's like, yeah, let me do these other things.
Yeah, let me kind of stay in this lane for a little
where
bit.
I won't get.
It's a tough place to be,
wanna
man.
murder
I don't have these
Email.
super fans that I have to appease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
That's
folks,
gonna
thanks
be-
for listening to the Smoking Hot Nerds podcast, episode 31 of Skyfall.
Oh,
Stick
wow.
around for Nerds After Dark coming up right now. Boom. It's Nerds After Dark. So the burning question on my mind all night, Eric, has been,
know,
what's
Brian.
going on with the new,
Yeah,
new background?
Iron
It's looking
Man.
good.
No, and
Yeah.
I really. I'll talk about a touch, but I have something that was supposed to come today. Visually, it's not going to change anything. It's just a swap out of this boy. But yeah, I can't. I don't know why. Oh, for some reason, I think I was looking at Hot Toys, the brand of like Sideshow Collectibles. There's this brand called Hot Toys that has ridiculously expensive, amazing figures.
Mm-hmm.
Very posable, highly, ultra realistic sculpts
Oh, yeah.
of human heads and stuff. And I think I was looking at Star Wars figures or something, and then I just kind of went, "Oh yeah, Iron Man!" when I went on the site, and then I just started ordering a bunch of stuff that I had put off years before.
Yeah.
Because now I'm like, yeah, I got a side job, I got some extra money,
Yeah.
I got enough money to pay off my debts.
Yeah, buy some Iron Man.
Let's Iron Man it up. So yeah, I did get. So the first thing that I was gonna get, and I only got, was this stuff originally. This mini Hall of Armor.
So it's all of the different
Yeah, tell me
iterations
more.
of Iron Man.
So this is the first 7 suits. So in Iron Man 3 at the beginning, when he's testing out his remote control flying piece,
Yeah.
Mark 42 or whatever it is, these are in the background. And so which I can't remember in the movie if they have Mark 1, because he doesn't bring Mark 1 home. That's the
Right.
one that he escapes the cave in.
He gets crunched in the desert. Yeah.
And then
Can you pull one of them up to the camera?
Yeah, I'll pull
Oh,
So
those
this is
are
Mark
sick.
1.
Wow.
So it is Hot Toys. So people that spend an absurd amount of money on these have the 6 scale, have all of these, but in that size.
Like a big.
And there's a case
Oh my
for
God.
each one of them with lights, and
Wow.
it's like thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
to have
absolutely.
This I got off eBay from someone who used it. It's still like $150 still, and that's
Yeah.
discounted. This is like $230 retail.
What?
Still.
For that?
It's ridiculous.
I mean, not
Well,
to
you-
say that it's
you
not
get
worth it.
they're-
It's just like,
The
wow.
packaging is like a giant display case. It's
Right.
ridiculous. You're paying for packaging.
Yeah.
Um,
Crazy.
Those are
that-
sick. Oh
I'll
my
jump
God.
through them quick. So this is the one he makes on his own, and he tests flights for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Is just the silver one, and then we go through.
That is hard scratching my collector bone.
I was gonna
Oh my
say, yeah,
God.
Nico's legit
Like,
going
huh?
crazy right now.
Yeah, it's the sizing that the size is
Yeah.
great. So then this is the colored one. This one takes us through the rest of the first Iron Man movie.
So that's the
Mark
first
III.
movie, the actual
Yeah.
suit. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I have
Yeah.
to watch again. I think Iron Man 2 starts when he lands at the expo, and
Yeah.
then the gantry comes out and he's on stage and he gets revealed and he's in a tux or whatever, being a real douchebag. Yeah, this is Mark 4,
Nice.
Yeah.
and then it jumps to.
I haven't seen Nico this focused on the podcast ever. This is great.
Well, it's
These are good,
it's funny
man.
because Lego produced a year ago. There's a Lego Iron Man book that you can get, that you build the book and then you open it and it's got all these like Iron Man minifigs. There's like 20 something Iron Man minifigs inside of it, and it's like $400. I don't own it because it's like $400 bucks.
Right.
I mean, if anybody out there is listening,
figure that's gonna come tomorrow.
Yeah,
I didn't do that.
Yeah, no, I need to check. I may have just won an eBay auction for something in the realm of something like that. So I know what that's like.
I love it. So what's next?
Monaco, the car.
That's the one that comes out of the briefcase, right?
Yeah, when what's his butt shows up and whips his car in half.
Yeah.
And then this is the briefcase one.
Gotcha.
Mark 5. And then the end of the movie. And so what I like about all these movies is whatever suit, for the most part, is at the end of the previous movie, then it's at the beginning of the next movie.
Right.
It's like the transition over, and then he, reveals new suits. And then this is the end of Iron Man 2 when they're at the expo and they have to fight off all the droids, the hammer tech.
Yeah.
And that leads in, and it's also the first half of Avengers, the first Avenger movie.
Okay.
And it gets all torn up, beat up. He has to try and keep the helicarrier up.
Oh, yeah.
When the turbine gets like Hawkeye blows up one of the turbines and he has to go in and he gets chewed up in it. And then my favorite suit is the end of the first Avengers movie. Then when he makes it back to New York and the army and he meets Loki and he gets thrown out of the building, and then Mark 7 gets shooting out of the building and catches him midair, wraps around him, and shoots back up. Yeah, so this is Mark 7.
Wow.
My all-time favorite one.
Yeah.
Which is also the big figure.
Wow.
And this is the older iteration. So next week I can show you the die-cast version.
Oh, wow.
That's like a complete resculpt. But this is still like ridiculous. Yeah.
So what is it about this particular one that makes it your favorite?
I think it's like the beefiest of the Iron Man suits, but it's still slick. So it's like it's gunned up. Like he has this suit just conveniently that has extra missiles and extra everything on it.
Yeah.
And just all these things, compartments that open up, and I love the shoulders on it. Yeah, there's just something about it that's like it's the perfect transition. It's like this is the one that kind of goes towards what's Don Cheadle's War Machine.
Yeah, War Machine.
But not nearly as far visually.
Yeah, not super bulky.
Over the top.
Yeah,
right. So this one's just the right amount of like beefy, awesome. It's got flaps that open up.
Oh,
so yeah,
nice.
it's just a very advanced, cool suit that does a whole lot.
So what about the mask that's behind you? What's that from?
So remember years ago, I was like, I'm going to build my own suit. Because years ago, I built the Snuggie Man.
Yeah.
Which was the fleece padded thing that had music playing out of it. It was kind of based off the Mark 7. That's where I had speakers in the shoulders. And so then I went, I could use stretchy metallic fabric. And, I know how to build an understructure. And so I kind of, again, this week got interested in, maybe I'll keep moving in that direction. So I pretty much finished the helmet. Finally, I was most of the way done. Oh, boy.
So you've made that helmet.
It's...
Oh, no.
It's all falling down.
I know the pain of getting something on display and then somebody's like, let me see it. Like, you give me a couple minutes to dig it out.
Yeah. So essentially, the substructure is from an Iron Man 3 like helmet that you could buy.
Yeah.
So I stretched this fabric over top, metallic.
Oh, wow.
So that it looks, when you look at it and you don't know what it is, you go, okay, I don't know, it looks right. Right. It flips up.
Wow. Nice.
That's
but
awesome.
like this is like peanut butter caps, that I've like covered. And so I have
from
like
here, I'd have no idea. It looks like
Right.
it looks
No
like
way.
polished aluminum. It looks awesome.
Yeah, this is literally 2 layers of poster board that I like one of these layers. Right. So I figured out a way where I can make the full suit that looks like, oh, it must be metal, but it's light. If I do finish it, I can do somersaults and like roll around in it.
Yeah.
Where everyone else that has an Iron Man suit is like clunky and it's a nightmare to wear.
Yeah.
Where this would be slick, soft, shiny, fun, and light and easy to wear. Yeah.
That's so cool, man.
But I have to pattern every piece. There's a ton of hand sewing, and it's like, and it would take me probably 200 hours to make the suit.
Oh wow!
Wow.
So next week then?
We'll
yeah.
So when are we gonna see it? That's the question.
If I take a week off if I have a vacation, like a winter vacation, then
So that's it.
Try and go all in on this. But yeah, I'll throw it on for you.
Yeah. So while he's doing that, I got an alert. I did win that eBay auction.
You did? Nice.
That's why I had to take this off to check it, and it's like you do that like clarification, and then it's like, oh, paid for. I'm like, wait, how did you pay for that?
Yeah.
Because I had a buyer that I use exclusively for the Lego minifigures. He sells the sealed boxes of Lego minifigs. And I use them exclusively for those, so it had all my preferences saved from that. So when I won the auction, I was like, "Great,
Just
pay now!" Like, okay, let me look for it, and it's like, "You're done!" Like, oh no,
yeah, you did it, dude.
That's
that
awesome.
looks good.
Oh man, that's so good.
Really good. And it pops up, so good. Yeah, that's amazing. It's comfortable and light.
Yeah, I mean, he said he would roll around in it, but I definitely wouldn't roll around it. The risk of tearing is like,
you could if you wanted to.
Well, yeah, it sounds terrible. It's just Velcro. So yeah,
okay.
Series of Velcro pieces. The inside.
It looked awesome,
gnarly. Man. But yeah, it would work if I follow through and actually make it. I'm just going. It's gonna be real hard because I'm gonna be really picky, and it's 1,000 little pieces.
Yeah, bit by bit, right?
Yeah, exactly. Make the shoes, and then make the hands. And try not to be super anal. Yeah. So we'll see.
It could be a black tie Iron Man, just mask and one repulsor hand, and
right. Yeah.
Just Iron Man about town.
It'd be Iron Man 3 when he's just got part of the suit on. Yeah. Right.
Right.
So by the time we got to space in Endgame, how many suits did he have?
Was it 50?
Something
or was he up
that,
to 80? I can't remember. I think it was maybe Mark 50 was the last one.
Wow.
Nanotech.
Well, it's tough
from 2
because
to 3 he jumps like from 7 to 40 something.
Yeah, because at the end of Iron Man 3, he has a giant like
Iron
fireworks scene where he explodes all the suits in front of Pepper. It's a lot. I think at some point they just stopped saying like, "Come to me, Mark 87." Like,
right.
you didn't do that.
It's a little old. Yeah.
Well, then you think about the concept of what he did too is like, Stark Tower has got like 6 of them just embedded in like the bathroom, and he's got the briefcase one, and he's got the one that's on his watch. He's got the 75 he controls through like an iPhone. He's got some on his plane. So who knows, right? How many there are? It's like everywhere he pops up, he's got a suit waiting.
Oh, I mean, they're numbered because there's figures of all of them. And
yes,
really?
Yes.
Wow.
Just have to see. Yeah, I can't remember what the nanotech one is, but he definitely slows down after Infinity War. He just kind of stops and he's broken. But
yeah.
He makes one for Pepper. Right?
Rescue. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And he makes one for Spider-Man.
Well, that's a
I like
Spider.
I think Endgame is a great movie. Like it's probably the best movie of all of the Avengers movies, aside from probably the first actual Avengers movie.
Yeah,
I think it's just like
Avengers is good.
Well, because
I like Infinity War maybe more.
No, it's good. Yeah.
But,
you get true closure.
Yeah.
Like Infinity War leaves you with the cliffhanger. Endgame is Endgame.
Yeah.
And the original Avengers has, an ending, but it's open. I mean, because they give you the post-credit scene stuff, and it's going to happen, but at least there's like a a nice, tight, concise little package of story.
Yeah.
Right.
The two in the middle, you're like, what's going on? Oh god.
Yeah,
Like,
Ultron
you know
is
Age
there's
of Ultron.
good.
yeah, you know they're
Even-
just setup films. So it's like,
Yeah,
all right.
even Whedon was like, yeah, I mean, that was his departure film. He was like, I don't want to do this anymore. No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did not enjoy Ultron at all. It was just too much. It was just more of the same. It felt like.
Well, and it was
like
tough
the
because it was
villain just didn't quite.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ultron
it was
just,
baked in with the rest of the MCU, so that they had to like tease in Black Panther. Then you have to start the whole Civil War thing. Right, you've got to.
Civil War was good. I like that one.
Yeah, they're
That's
they're
kind of
all
yeah, that was good.
good, but
Yeah.
some movie has to suffer
Yeah,
in order
and
for
that
other
one was
ones to be
definitely
good.
that.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's why Whedon was like, ugh, I gotta balance all this crap and do this, that, the other thing, and that's where the Russo brothers could prove that okay, we can handle all this crap.
Yeah.
So last week on Thanksgiving, I watched the Lego Star Wars holiday special with my nephews.
You mean the Lego Star Wars holiday commercial for the video game released January 2nd, 2021?
Video game / advent
No.
calendar / yeah.
Yeah.
And it was great. And it was great
looked
for
fun.
a couple of reasons. Reason number one is because, so spoiler alert, the Rey character goes back in time basically, and sort of ends up in different portions of the Star Wars films. In her,
Wait, hold on.
What?
Hold on. So that's what I have an issue with. Well, I mean, you know how I feel about time travel.
yes,
but
but
here's
it's Star Wars and Legos.
No, but when Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
because it has to be pre Rise of Skywalker, because
I
knows
see. Yeah.
she knows she's Palpatine, and she has all those interactions with the Emperor.
See, when I was did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched it.
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
when I saw it, I just assumed that it was after all
I
the
did.
things.
Oh, I did too. But then she wasn't weird. Like she never called him Grandpa, and then like what? Oh, never mind. Like
Right,
there was none of that.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
those easy jokes to make.
Sure.
They never did it. So that's what it always made me think. Like she knows that the Emperor's her grandpa. Like, so
when
this
is
has to be
happening?
like pre
Yeah.
Rise.
It was written before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she goes back in time to the opening scene of Phantom Menace, and it starts with her kind of like she's like in this vortex that takes her to these periods of time, and she ends up underneath a table where Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn
Are waiting
are sitting, and
to talk
it's
to the Neimoidians.
yeah,
Oh,
it's
lovely.
Obi-Wan banging his head on a table going, boring, boring, boring. Who cares about a trade dispute?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is great. And so they kind of did that through the whole thing, sort of made fun of the parts that nobody likes about the prequels or that are just like a little bit weird, and threw in a little bit of Mandalorian, which is also kind of cool.
Yep.
But it's fun. Like it's just a fun little ride. But it reminds me a lot, again, of like, kind of like the Mandalorian does this. It talks about, or it kind of reminds me of the Ewok Adventures, the Battle for Endor, sort of like little movies, or like the holiday special or whatever, where it's not really canon,
Right.
but it is living in the world so that in like 30 years, it's going to be kind of canon. Because I did see a little bit of the holiday special from the 70s recently. And my goodness, that is a wreck of a thing.
Rough. It's like they talk about like torture. Like getting through that weird variety act special.
Because they didn't even use like an actual Chewie costume either. So it's like kind of wrong, kind of off.
Was he even off? Because I feel like he looked kind of okay, but then the other Wookiees, you could tell they did not spend that money.
Didn't even try. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting though
Lumpy.
because I got the advent calendar for Sarah for her son Huck, and you've got it. And I didn't realize that it had tie-ins to the whole the movie plus or the special plus the video game, which is great.
The festive Poe Dameron in the ugly Christmas sweater?
Yeah. That's great. Good. Yeah. That's great. I think it's a unique thing to have a franchise.
Yes.
Let's just call it IP. Just have an IP that's so vast and so popular that is also at this point in time okay with it making fun of itself and having fun 100%. With itself. Yep. Like that's super rare and super cool that it's like, oh yeah, no, we're going to have like I've watched some of the Freemaker adventures on Star Wars, the Lego Star Wars stuff. It's like a Lego Star Wars, cartoon series that's on Netflix. And it's just like, it's the Freemakers, which is like the family.
The Lego stuff has always been Lego first, Star Wars second.
Yeah.
So like even like the video games, like there's an Indiana Jones series, there's a Pirates of the Caribbean one, there's lots of Star Wars ones, there's Harry Potter, but they're always Lego first.
Right. It's so they're that always Lego filter and that
they're always making yes, they're always making those jokes first. So yeah, it is good, but it is funny. You're right. The commercial nature of it, because it's just a super advertisement for the advent calendar, the video game that's coming out. The advent calendar has a code in it that you can play a character from the advent calendar in the video game.
Wow.
By putting the code
unlock a special
that is only exposed by having the calendar. Yeah. And I think it's Christmas sweater Vader. So we'll see.
But that's always been toys, especially 100%. Around the holidays.
100%. It's always been Star Wars.
Yeah. Especially when it came to, what's the whole joke in A Christmas Story when he wants to get the secret decoder and he gets the secret decoder and he runs up and it's just he's like a crummy commercial. Like that's always been toys around the holidays. It's a crummy commercial for whatever toy they want to sell. But
they lied. There's no Babu Freak minifigure. Because the minute I saw him show up in the cartoon, I went to Lego to see if they had a Babu Freak minifigure. Doesn't exist yet.
Who is that?
Babu Freak from Rise of Skywalker. He's the little guy who hacks into
the best character ever.
There's no Babu. Yeah. But they have him in the cartoons. I'm like, let's make that happen. Gotcha. I want that. Gotcha. I have money. Please take it.
Yeah. So I really wanted to talk about The Mandalorian tonight. I feel bad if we talk about it without Brian, but are you caught up, Eric?
I'm caught up.
Yeah. So this is a bad week to talk about it because last Friday's episode was such a monumental spoiler. Which one? What was last week? You mean the
Ahsoka?
2 episodes.
The Ahsoka version?
No, the Ahsoka episode.
Yeah.
Not the one that comes out tomorrow. What? Huh?
What do you mean spoiler?
What do I mean? Well, because the first episodes were just like space adventure, right? He's got
serial,
the kid,
Saturday morning serial type thing.
Yeah, he's trying to find the Mandalorians and blah blah blah, and then and then we meet Bo-Katan, who's played by
Katie Sackhoff.
Katie Sackhoff, and crushes it, kills it. But it introduces more of like the Rebels world knowledge that you have to have. This one, it's just if we were to talk about Mandalorian, it should have been last week, because like I said, this one, it's like skyrocket of information, and also like some big things like the child has a past and has a name, and it's like all that stuff that like the franchise was. It's Baby Yoda. Like, okay, let's go with that for a bit. Like, well, no, I'm gonna call it's only the child. Like, all right, so you guys can have that fight. And now the writers, Filoni's like, nope.
Yeah, he has a name now.
That little guy's got a name, and this is what it is, and don't care.
Yeah.
But we were talking about, I don't want to say it, but we were talking about it. Andrew and I watched it. We were talking about it. And I said, I want to be in the room when they have this discussion about giving the child a name. And I guarantee somebody just stood up at one point and said, listen, there is not a single name that we can come up with that will appease a fan.
Yeah.
So we need to go
Frankie
bonkers banana sauce.
Right.
And that's the only acceptable solution, because it's going to be Baby Yoda and the child forever until we do something. So we got to find the two worst ideas and smash those together. And then that's this kid's name.
Yeah.
Because Yoda is such a simple, like 2-syllable bang, bang, right? But it's a nice, concise, he's small, it's small, bang. This name is like,
Grogu.
Yeah.
Grogu.
I don't mind it. I think it's cute.
Well, it's new.
It doesn't fit the character for me.
It feels older,
because
but
it was already something else. What did people think of Yoda when they first heard Yoda? Were they like, perfect fit?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That's fair. Grogu, to me, it sounds like Grogu is like the
Goku.
Well, but it's also, he's like the Grogu is the guy who fixes the hyperdrive on the Millennium Falcon that gets vaporized by a stormtrooper.
Right. It sound yeah.
He's a red shirt. Grogu's a red shirt.
Right. And the guy now.
But let it grow on you, because by the time we get to season 8,
let it grow on goo.
It's gonna be good. But this episode of The Mandalorian, so we're talking about episode 4, where we get introduced in the series to Ahsoka, she's a Jedi, and she's like massively popular in the Rebels and Clone Wars sort of like world of the cartoon. But and she also, it should be said, is Dave Filoni, who is the writer and director of this episode and kind of the caretaker. He's kind of George Lucas.
He's taken the Lucas helm.
Yeah, because you got Kathleen Kennedy, who's like the she runs Lucasfilm, but she's the business end. Filoni is like the story.
He's the spirit.
Caretaker. And Ahsoka is like a really, really important character for him. And so to have this episode, and forgive me, it's a little crass the way I'll put it, but this episode is like the first time you have sex with somebody that you just met, where now you know all the things that were like kind of, not that we know everything about the movie or the show, but it's just like you've seen it all now, you've heard all the things, and now, so because leading up to that, you're building up expectation. Yeah. Now expectation has been met. Now what has to happen is you have to build the relationship now. Now, right.
What did you say?
Episode 5, butt stuff. That's gonna be the next thing. Yeah. No, it's like now we have to build an actual relation. Yeah. We're building a real relationship with the show now in a way that we didn't before, because it was all mystery. It was all this stuff. Now the cat's out of the bag. The child has a history. The child has a name. The child may or may not decide to be a Jedi. We've seen a Jedi. And to be honest with you, I think this is the first time we've seen a Jedi the way we want to see a Jedi. The way that she fought, the way that she used, like my brother pointed out, he was like, you saw the lightsaber being used as a weapon, but you saw it being used also practically. You saw what it did to metal. You saw what it did to things. And not in this, like, I don't know, there's something annoying about the way that lightsabers worked in, like, the new Star Wars movies, in the last 3. I like this was just, like, she has been a Jedi for a very long time, so it just functions differently.
Well, yeah, it's back to, okay, someone who has been properly trained.
Yeah.
But it's not the clunkiness of the prequels.
Yeah.
And so,
it's very elegant. It's very deliberate. It's great.
Yeah.
And she's also not tied to the Order. So she's kind of her own.
And that's where I was going to go, is that this episode succeeds because, it does all those things. But if you've never seen Clone Wars or Rebels, you don't know the underlying story, but it doesn't matter.
That's what Dave Filoni does so well.
Brilliant. Yeah. And that's why it's really good, is that you don't need to know the nuance of the fact that she's not in the Order. Yeah. Like the Order railroaded her out. She essentially became a villain at one point.
Yeah, she gets
but it's
set
not
up.
like she gets we can go to that. It's a whole nother thing too. Yeah, she gets set up and gets roaded out. And in the cartoons, if you've ever seen them, she has a one blue and one green saber. But she has the white sabers. The white sabers come from Rebels in a very specific thing that occurs. So like,
I was curious about that. So I wouldn't mind if you went into that, because I knew the story up to like her like being forgiven or whatever. Like, you know, once she's like exonerated.
She's forgiven, but she walks. She
right,
basically,
and she leaves. But she had the two different colored lightsabers. So I was like, how did she get
right? But it's kind of like
ones?
a gun and badge thing, right? Like when she left the order, they were like, it was essentially give me your gun and your badge, because in the order, part of the Padawan training is you go to the planet and you find your kyber crystal, or it finds you, and then that's your saber, right? So that's what she did. She had those. In Rebels, this is post Order 66, so they, you know, we think all the Jedis are gone, but you end up finding out that there are two, one of them that was hiding, and then one who is found. So then he kind of takes him on, and that's Kane and Ezra. Kane is the Jedi who was in the Order, who survived, and then Ezra is the kind of the foundling that he meets and then trains him up. But if like Kane is here, Ezra is here. Ezra is stronger.
He's like the new Luke Skywalker.
He's the new Skywalker, right?
Just
but
even a little younger.
What they don't even talk about though is the fact that Ahsoka is like here. She is on par with Vader as far as like even Yoda, as far as like will and ability.
Through Olympic training. She was training as from a baby. So,
right. Yeah. She's gone through the process. So she's a level that's so much higher. But so in the Rebels cartoon, and it's been a minute, but I'll try to paraphrase it. This group that starts the rebellion with Ezra and Kane and they're all right there. They get mixed into the world that Ahsoka has created. So like they get mixed into her world of, it's almost like marshals and sheriffs kind of thing, where she's not the law, but she's doing good, but doing what she has to do. So she's manipulating shipments and stuff like that. And they rope her into the rebellion because she knows, right, I'm not official, but I'm involved now. And then after one of their interactions, I think I remember how he gets them, but Ezra gets the sabers, the two white sabers, and then he gives them to her. There's a lot of episodes to watch, but Ezra gives her, because he finds out, I think it's after the bat. It has to be before that. He finds out that she was a Jedi, and then I think it's from the temple. I think he gets it from the temple on Yavin or on Lothal. That
anyway, he gets sent to that temple that's been on his home planet the whole time, and then it gets unlocked, right? And like Yoda talks to him.
And I think he gets them, but they're not for him. He's basically told like these are for somewhere else. So they kind of gets him and they go away. And then when he meets Ahsoka and he gets exposed to her and like he gives them to her. Like these are yours kind of thing.
He doesn't show his weenie to her.
He does not. No, he's a gentleman.
Not that kind of exposed.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how she gets the white sabers.
Jedi
but it also it helps it having that fun background knowledge. Like you know that at the beginning when she's like fighting her way up to that village, she also is very un-Jedi in like, you know, you think about like the Qui-Gon and
all over the place.
Yeah, she's just cutting through. Like there's no nice negotiation with Ahsoka. She's not evil. She's not dark side.
She's gray. Is she a gray Jedi?
But she's also not dicking around. You know, like so that's why I said she's more like a marshal or a sheriff, or you know, that like I have these exterior boundaries that I can operate inside. I
judge,
have more
jury,
gray
executioner
area.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like Wild West, which is what this whole.
Well, this was a very Shogun. This was a very Japanese inspired episode.
Yeah, this episode
and that's
was.
What made it so
it had
beautiful.
this very, because the whole thing that made Star Wars episodes 4, 5, 6 so great is that it did have the Wild West feel, And so that's what's making The Mandalorian so great. It's because it's literally a gunslinger show. This is like a spaghetti western, like
In
60s, the outlaw type of thing.
Kung fu.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And so we had this Tarantino-esque sort of thing. I want to know how Rosario Dawson was chosen as Ahsoka.
Fans.
Because it's a big deal. Because as important as the character is to the whole ethos of the Star Wars universe, is huge. But she killed it.
She has a charisma that is
charisma for sure, but also like
important to the
calmness to her,
prowess,
where she was just not afraid to be extremely. She was so level-headed in the way that she approached the child stuff, where she was like, no, he's got a name and I'm not going to train him. Not going to happen. And so there's just a lot of stuff about the nuance of the character that I think she just absolutely killed. She murdered it. It was so good. Yeah.
Crushed it.
And so well, in fact, that I didn't know it was her for the first 20 minutes, where I didn't even register. I was just like, who's this Jedi? I don't know this, because I've never seen Rebels or anything. So I didn't know.
Reading the articles leading up to
that. Yeah. So all I had seen was just this great story. And Mandalorian is doing a great thing where it's holding to the idea that Beskar is this really, really precious metal.
Right.
And that even a lightsaber can't break it.
Cut it. Yep.
And so I love that there's this, I don't know, it seems like it's the most consistent story within Star Wars outside of the original 4 movies. Those 4 movies have a beautiful through line. It all makes sense. This is the most consistent thing because you're actually seeing movies. What's that?
First 4 movies?
First 3 movies. Sorry, I was 4, 5, 6. That's what I was. Yeah. So 4, 5, 6. Those are the most consistent.
The original trilogy and the Phantom Menace.
And that's all. And the Rise of Skywalker. Yeah. Throw that in there. So yeah, it's great. It's so good. And that episode was great. Talk about color palette. That one was just so consistent within how it looked. And Michael Biehn. Hey.
Yeah, Michael Biehn.
Yeah, I got to see Johnny Ringo.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that was old Johnny
Ringo.
Ringo.
I was trying to place him.
Gonna stick around.
Yeah. Because I didn't recognize him at first, and then she said something called him didn't call him a gunslinger, but it was something like that. It was along those lines. And I was like, wait a second.
Oh, and then he had a
Johnny
profile
Ringo.
shot because he's changed a little.
Yeah.
So there's one profile shot where it was oh, okay, I know that face, because a lot of it was just straight on. And when he's in gear, it's up to here.
Yeah.
It was a little tough, but then he got that one profile. It's that's that's John Connor.
Yeah.
Kyle Reese.
Kyle Reese.
Reese,
It'd be creepy if it was John Connor. I was trying to think of the name of the Marine in
Hicks.
but also in The Abyss, he plays the bonkers.
Yeah, he's the guy that gets the bends and goes crazy.
Yeah. We saw him. Remember, we saw him in person in California. Do you remember that? It was the first time we all were in California, and we went to the movie theater, and he was doing that thing does anybody recognize me?
Oh,
and we
yeah,
all
where
did,
was that?
but we were like, shit, don't let him know that we know. And he's doing the.
So it's funny. I wish that
Oh, if I was there, I would have gone, "Hey Hicks, you look just like I feel." He would have gone. No.
He probably would have liked it though. I have a friend who knows him pretty well, and yeah, I think that he likes the celebrity thing. I think he likes to be recognized. So.
Well, he's done the right amount of work where it's still novel and not annoying.
Well, and his work is it's really
quintessential.
It's stuff that really affected us as kids.
Yeah,
These giant tentpole James Cameron 80s movies.
Yeah.
Were you who? Maybe it was Matt that was with me when we walked by Ray Liotta. Were you guys with us? No, that wasn't that weekend. Yeah, we were just literally walking to CVS or something, and there was a Ray Liotta was out there with his.
There was a Ray Liotta.
Yeah.
One of those Ray Liottas was just walking around.
At that point too, it's the very bloated Ray Liotta, so you're kind of Is that the guy from Goodfellas?
You're a lot shorter and a lot fatter than I.
Yeah.
What else? So yeah, this episode was good because they do certain things where, and this is where he's brilliant, is that he introduces Admiral Thrawn to people, which because he's an admiral, and because the Jedi is interested that it's probably somebody high up in the old Empire who's very important. That's all you really need. But because we have like the additional backstory, when she said, "Where's Thrawn?" I was like, my nerd boner touched the sky. Like, it blasted through the roof. Yeah. It was like
lightning.
I cannot wait to see.
Doc Brown slid down on it.
Yeah, it's like I cannot wait to see who they've either cast as Thrawn or if Thrawn shows up.
Because what is his? He was like
got a guess of who they'll cast.
He was a big deal in the books. Shadow of the Empire, right? I think he was in that as well. So what's his deal in the rest of the story?
Thrawn is like the new Grand Moff Tarkin, but for Rebels.
Okay.
So because Rebels is essentially that. It's they're still rebels. The Empire has just fallen. Right?
Yeah.
So it's
after Return of the Jedi. Second Death Star's been blown up.
Gotcha.
Well, no, because.
Oh wait, no. Were you talking about Rebels? I'm sorry.
I'm talking about Rebels.
Of his original. Okay.
Yeah. No, Rebels is like it's
Empire,
right?
It's in between 3 and 4. It's before A New Hope.
Thank you. Yes. But Vader exists. Like this is it's post Revenge,
like
and
so
this is all in the middle of the muddy area there. Gotcha. So the Empire's in full swing. But basically it's the forming
6 or something.
Yeah, it's the reforming of the rebellion that starts on this planet. So this Order 66 has happened. Jedi have been wiped. There's only a few left. They're spread out, but then there's these pockets of rebellion that are fighting the Empire. And he's basically, like I said, he's like the Grand Moff Tarkin. So if Moff Tarkin is managing like the East Coast, Thrawn is handling like the West Coast. That it's that kind of a split. I mean, they do interlap, but he's handling this side of the Outer Rim, trying to squash this side of the rebellion while other people are doing other things like that. But he is basically like the ultra smart, but very calm admiral of the Empire. He's also got. There's a couple of scenes in Rebels too where he's not just kind of like a sharp object that you stab at things. Like he starts to bring in the culture that the rebels are living behind to better understand how to defeat them. It's that extra meta level understanding and like a Sherlock Holmes type problem solving stuff. So he's like a Moriarty, just this, but he's just such a powerful character that it's like they're gonna have to do like a Max Strong or I don't know who they're gonna cast. Jason Isaacs, right?
Is that who it is?
I wouldn't be surprised if they go.
I don't know if they've announced it.
Rosario got cast, I think, off fans.
Yeah,
like doing a fake art of her, and it kind of took off from there. And that's happened with him, and he's, I think, even shown interest. There's no rumor of it, but
it's whoever gets it. It's either going to be nailed it or oof.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to go the nailed it route.
So far, it's been pretty nailed it. Other than other than that terrible episode, which I feel horrible about this because I love Bill Burr, and I think he did a good job. But that episode,
the Prison Break episode,
oh, it was terrible. And I thought the casting was so off, and the makeup was weird. I just thought the whole thing was just freaking weird. That was the only time I felt like that show was just kind of like a little bonkers. I was like, I don't know about this. This is not.
When they tried to save something from that in season 2 because the at the end of that, when he's got the rebellion or the alliance marker and he sets it off in the space station, the X-wings that come in, there's 3 of them, I think. 2 of them are the guys who are in season 2 that are chasing down the Razor Crest. Yeah. And one of them's Filoni, and then the other guy.
Some dude who's like in the 501st, some other like fan.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, and they can blow up Amy Sedaris' character. Just get rockets right to her freaking terrible character. I don't like it at all. But besides that, the show's great. Yeah.
Well, it can't all be like super solid. It's interesting though.
Mos Eisley before the war. Just like, nice. Oh man, are you on Perry Mason?
Get over here, droid. Oh, you can't find any good help anymore.
Help's so hard to find. Am I right, audience? Yeah, it's just too much. Too much.
You can't say that on television.
Yeah.
The thing that's interesting too, and I've stopped reading recaps and stuff about The Mandalorian because it's like 10% correct and then 90% like mega conjecture. So people are talking about who saved Grogu from the temple, but they're also talking about like they made mention, or Ahsoka made mention of that there are other Jedi. So you basically go to this mountain and broadcast I'm a Jedi, and someone's going to show up. But so it's like, all right, so Vader, because Vader, that's what happens in Rebels.
Who's a lot of times Jedi that has the powers too.
Yeah. So he's got it's a question of like, are we going to see Vader himself? Are we going to see the Inquisitors? Are we going to see Night Sisters? Are we going to see
Night Sisters?
Are we going to see Ezra and Cain, and then then the rest of the actual rebels like Hera and because they talked about Sabine, who's the Mandalorian. Is she going to show up? Because remember when we talked about this at the very, very beginning, that we were just kind of spitballing a bunch of stuff when they showed in the trailer the girl who ended up being a Mandalorian with Bo-Katan, but it's the female WWE wrestler or whatever that like people are like, oh, that's Sabine. Like, no, it's already been stated that somebody else is Sabine, but where's she coming from? So it'll be this whole idea of like, go to this mountain, basically send out the world's largest Jedi ping and wait for somebody to respond. It's like, Ahsoka, that's a real bad idea, but I want it. I want you to do it because it opens up like I said, the Night Sisters are this crazy thing that is like deep culture stuff. And then, you've got the dark side, you've got the light side, you've got the remaining Jedi. I mean, Yoda still exists.
Right.
So it's like
Fibish Finkel's out there.
Yeah. Yaddle is around.
Right. Pretty sure
Yaddle.
Ben Quadraneros is out there.
Oh yeah, Ben's out there.
Yeah.
He fixed his power couplings. Look out.
But see, that's what's great about this show though, is that I think so. For one, I don't watch a lot of shows as a fan very often. Like a lot of times I'm watching shows for other reasons, and I'm obsessed with like watching for education or whatever, like learning from it. But this is super fun because I can watch it as a fan. Right. And what's really cool is that every single character has their own agenda. And so the Mandalorian and the child are just wandering through the world, and here comes some other Mandalorians and they're out. Here comes a Jedi and she's out. And it's like even what's his name from Rocky? You got yourself a stew going. Carl Weathers, he's in and he's out.
Right.
And so it's
which I was worried in season 1. It was like, oh, it's just going to keep building a gang and we're going to be have these characters all the time. And then when they left, it was like, okay.
Yeah. Because I feel like we're going to have our first Death Star moment where the gang is going to come together to win, and Han Solo is going to fly in, and we're going to have these cool moments of them reunion. We're going to have a
Darksaber duel. We're going to have Ahsoka fighting, and the Mandalorians are going to join.
It's going to be great.
Like the end of this season, the season finale is going to be like
what
I didn't think would happen till season 3, frankly.
So. Well, the hanger for this, because this is why what the last episode was key, is because they set up this like, we're going to put a call out, which means they can ride this unknown response for 2 or 3 episodes. So that basically the cliffhanger at the end of season 2 can be a stolen Imperial shuttle landing in front of the Mandalorian, and Skywalker walks down off the bridge. It's like a digital Luke Skywalker or something. Like
Sebastian Stan. Yeah.
Right. They
I
could
read too
do
many rumor things.
Yeah.
they could do something like that. Like this the I don't know what you call it. This plot device is an endless cliffhanger device that like you send the call out, you don't need an immediate response.
Right.
You
won't get just one
us.
response.
That too. Right. There's going to be multiple responses from this. And they've set up this amazing world to pull from. Like I said, I rattled off 5 things that could happen. I want to see all of them happen. Like I would love the Night Sisters to roll in. They've got the Star Wars Fallen Order video game that maybe that ship rolls in, you know, with the kid, the redhead kid, like Kel. So there's all of this stuff that is totally right there. That
they're already proving just with Filoni and the fact that Ahsoka has showed up. That's like, oh, we'll bring in whatever. Yeah, we don't care. This is for fans. Let's have fun.
But also not
we'll
just like,
yeah.
But it's not just like it's not like cameo pop up. It's
right.
They're there for a reason,
right.
And it's a 2 to 3 episode reason, which is great. And it's not just like somebody walked in and was like, "Look at me, I'm Ryan Reynolds," and then they're gone. Like that's not what's happening, which is so good.
Well,
I need to take a 5-minute. Hold on.
Yeah, Dave Filoni as a writer director, just based on this one episode. Like you kind of like, can you just do all of them, please? And thanks.
Oh, I mean,
it's so good and so
he's done
perfectly
so many Star Wars episodes. Now. He's run. I mean, Clone Wars had 7-ish seasons, but that's 7-ish seasons. Rebels had at least 4, I think. Yeah, he's done, and he's talked to George Lucas, so he understands more than anybody what Lucas was trying to do.
Yeah.
And wasn't able to do in the prequels, and he appreciates the prequels and what that potential was, and now he can take all of that and move it forward. And go, okay, now I know how to kind of get what was kind of maybe trapped in George Lucas's brain,
right? And
he was rusty. He couldn't direct. He didn't have any no men. I've got no men. I'm fine to bash this out with other creatives, and make it work. And so he comes with all that power.
Yeah, I think that when you build when you're just making something small, when I'm making something like a YouTube video, or like when you're doing even just like the Boston, thing with the crowdsource thing, it's like you're still really working hard to create consistency and to tell the story as best you can.
To tell the story, concisely. And like you have all these like window hangings. Like I'm a person that loves window hanging, but at the end of the day, you still have to convey what your ideas are.
Yeah.
And your characters have to convey it properly. And so he's a guy that gets plot, he gets character, and he gets how those things can converge and move together.
Right. Oh, yeah, and also he doesn't seem to worry too much about. Well, there's a way that he can call back on things, and he can discuss the stuff that's like the prequel stuff that we maybe think is kind of dumb. He somehow makes cool. Like I'm talking about him and Favreau. Like they somehow made pod racers cool all of a sudden, because they threw it into the story in a way that felt organic, to make it that it was just like a junked up pod racer that some random guy was using. Even like
it's still kind of a cool hot rod. Here's only part of it that survived.
Exactly. Well, and Boba Fett's armor, like you couldn't. I don't know. There would be a lot of reasons.
It plausible.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. They run it through the right filter that says, okay, how could Boba Fett's armor show up?
Yeah.
Jawa's got it. How did they get it? Did they save Boba Fett? He probably crawled out and was stuck in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And his jetpack didn't work, and Jawa saved him, and he had to trade his armor to be alive.
Yeah.
It's like you can get that they're walking through it with a chalkboard and a team going, is this bullshit? Okay.
Could this really happen? And it's crazy that because we didn't really see, we saw Stormtroopers early in season 1. of the Mandalorian. So you already see some remnants of the old Empire, but you didn't really dive into Star Wars lore until this season. So it's kind of crazy to have this show that's evolved so much just in like a season and 4 episodes, to the point where it's like, oh man, we are fully immersed now in like the Rebels Clone Wars world without even knowing it, because I've never seen any of it, and I'm like fascinated by it. I think it's the coolest thing.
And it's just adding layers. And yeah, so for someone who doesn't give a shit about Clone Wars or anything, yeah, it doesn't matter. For them, it's just heightening, and it's just building more layers.
Yeah.
And more complexity, and the universe is getting larger.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, we're heading towards, and then too, when you see, I don't know what budget jump they got this season, but oh boy, this show looks, some of these shots I'm going, this looks expensive.
Well, I don't even know how
and these sets look pretty big. This whole the void or whatever they call that room with the rear projection. I'm like, I'm sure they're filming some amount of stuff still in there, but it looks like a whole lot of set.
Yeah, because even the whole scene in this last episode with all the trees, like, and the sky, like that level of consistency of background is really hard to pull off,
right?
When it doesn't look like green screen. So somehow they're managing to shoot all this stuff almost practically with that backlit sort of like live background. That's just making the world so much more immersive than I think any Star Wars that we've seen other than the first, 3 movies. And
what I think it is, you may have said this while I stepped away, but it's kind of like when like the Xbox and the PlayStation 5 just came out, but the games that come out with it are launch titles to get you by the system, but they're not the best games that those systems can produce. So I'm wondering if like season 1 was, we've got this great tool and this is how you use it. So they used it. And then they had a time to like go back and say, okay, that was almost right, but now we know better. So now they've had like basically like a year under their belt of like testing it, scale, size, color, frame rate, all that kind of stuff. And now they've had a whole nother year, a whole nother generation to tune it in. And now it's like, whoa.
Yeah, and also there was also a certain level, like, I mean, Disney announced The Mandalorian, like, I don't know, it's like 2018 maybe, at their shareholders meeting, where they were like, hey, we're going all in on Disney Plus, we're doing this. But weirdly, they still didn't really believe that it was going to work. They didn't think that fans were going to like it.
They didn't throw a ton of money at it. It was risky.
They didn't even create like a child toy, like that level of stuff where like the merchandising, like capital of the world, they didn't even make a toy for one of their characters because they were just like, I don't know, maybe it's not going to work. And it just
didn't work with the Porgs. We don't know what's going to work.
Right. But the thing is, they created the Porgs with the idea of making a toy. And so I think that there's something about that sort of that street level like thing that Favreau still has, even though he's created some of the most. I mean, he is the reason why Marvel is Marvel now. Exactly. He's the purpose. He's the whole reason behind why we have. I mean, he's the reason why Disney bought Marvel. It's like because that Iron Man movie was so well done.
And he again gets casting. He gets
right. Well, people like to work with him, and he's a really good director. And so when you have that, even then they were still like, all right, here's a series for Disney that's Star Wars based, and they were still kind of like, it might not work. And it's turned into the biggest thing
money
ever.
At it.
Yeah.
Well, because they were throwing money at, let's do Solo. Well, that worked. We're gonna have all these spin-off movies, right? I mean, it was right in that world when those started to like. Yeah, kind of the floor fell out from underneath them.
They made the wrong.
Let's try a TV show.
The wrong decisions with Solo. Rogue One still works for me. I really like it a lot. But
and innovations for sure.
But they were like right on the edge of that not working, because they were doing that thing where they're like hiring a risky director and a risky writer, and then they change it all at the last minute.
Yeah.
They did that with Rogue One, with Solo. It worked with Rogue One because they actually
production.
brought in...
Sorry, director. We hired you for this reason, but now that you're doing the thing that you thought you were hired to do, we don't want you.
We don't want that anymore. Yeah.
Right.
And it, like with Solo, it just definitely did not work. That was just a bad idea.
If it was just not Han Solo, I think it would have been much more successful.
Yeah.
If it was just some characters and it was that story, you go, okay, fine, fun.
Yeah.
Hey, this is fun. And it's different. It's jamming Han Solo's name onto it and forcing that. And then you're like, the expectations were sky high. And it's like, don't do that.
Well, especially the character, we talked about this, the character of Han Solo is not the White Knight. You know, he's not the good guy. And then when people made a scoundrel movie, they're like, well, this isn't my Han Solo. It's like, that kind of is.
Frankly, if anything, he should maybe be worse.
Yeah, like he should be.
They made him a little soft around the edges, frankly.
Yeah, so it's like, you made, like, this wasn't a Jack Sparrow like pirate movie. This was a scoundrel movie, and that's what it was. And
so I saw a deep fake sort of montage where Harrison Ford's face was deep faked onto the face of the guy who played Han Solo. So what's the, like, why are deep fakes so much better than actual CG? Because I just saw one of Princess Leia too from Rogue One, and it was like astronomically better.
Is it photo imagery to build a 3D structure? So it's actually using photo. It's using, like, essentially, my understanding, and Nico, you can correct me because I'm sure you've looked into it, but I imagine it's like a robot takes every single frame of imagery that exists for an actor, and it compiles and it creates this thing, and then it can put that face onto somebody else.
Yeah, so it takes
so it's photorealism because it is photorealism.
Actually their face,
right. And what it's doing too is you do multi passes with the processing. So it would take like my face and it would try to find as many lighting differences, like right now, like the shadow that's coming across, like it would take that photo and be like, okay, so when I turn this way, this is what the shadow looks like. When I turn this way, this is the shadow, and this, and like that. And so it takes it and it builds a knowledge base model, and then you give it the footage that you want, and it basically does the exact same process, so that it takes and it's like, okay, so when I do this, I have these shadows, but when Eric does it, it's these shadows. So it creates the two mappings, and then they do a pass, and 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 it uses like facial recognition software to say, like, is what I've done 80% successful in facial recognition passing? And when it says no, pass. So it does all these multiple passes. And there are cases where, like, if you had somebody with a long skinny, like I have, like a tall skinny face, but then somebody with like just a short round face, the deepfake's not going to be good, just because biology,
bone structure,
it's off, so it's not going to be good. But then they can kind of fudge that with like shading or making stuff just a little larger. So, but it does all that again and again and again and again and again.
Well,
to the point where it's super hyper mapped onto somebody's face.
But two, it all depends on how much footage there is of someone, right? So it's like South Park guys, Trey Parker, Matt Stone, we're going to make a movie of this guy that gets into a Trump administration, gets a job, like gets kicked out and whatever. And it was right when the pandemic started. They built this deep fake studio, and then they had to pull the plug on it. And so they essentially they released one little YouTube video, and it's like Sassy Justice, I think it's called, or something. It's like, I watched it. It's got moments, but they have a deep fake of somebody. I think it's just Trey Parker probably wearing like a white wig, or no, it's the dude who played the new Tick. And he's like a British actor. Oh, God, I don't know. Anyways,
okay,
it's this guy, and he's done like a sassy impression of Trump, like no girlfriend, that type of direction. But anyways, he got a wig on. But now they deep fake Trump's face onto him, and it looks like Donald Trump is wearing a wig. And when he talks, the inside of his mouth, his eyes, because there's so much footage of the current president of the United States that it looks flawless.
Yeah, and that's the thing it does too, where like 100% digital, like getting like the shadows of the mouth and stuff, like CGI stuff isn't good enough to be able to put like a light
teeth, stuff like that. It falls apart.
Well, that's where there's certain things too about. So the Rogue One thing was interesting, where I don't even understand why it wasn't done this way or why I didn't get it. Like Carrie Fisher had a very distinct way that her top lip sat on her teeth, and the CGI character did not have that. And so when you know someone's face as well as you know it, you just know that this doesn't really look right. So when they did the deep fake of it, it was perfect as far as what her face really looked like. The Moff Tarkin thing too, even though that was pretty good in Rogue One. But
yeah, it's completely different. It's like someone doing a sculpture in a computer with CGI, which is like the hardest thing in the world, where deep fakes coming from a completely different angle and going, hold my beer, boom. Do it this way, dude. And now amateurs are putting out stuff way better than ILM. And you're like, okay.
Oh yeah, you can download free deepfake software right now. Like I said, where it shines is the way that it uses data algorithms to do mapping on mapping on mapping. So it'll do a first pass, which is very rough, and then it does another pass and it's a little better. It does another pass.
Checking itself.
Right. And it, like I said, it runs it against facial recognition to say, like, would I pass a facial recognition of myself doing this? So it's doing a self check of saying, how good of a job did I do? And when it's not good enough, it uses another clip and does it again, and uses another clip and does it again. And like you said, with mouths and stuff, when people open their mouth, it's smart enough to know how to clip like right there so that it just blends straight in and you don't even see it. It's the software is bonkers good.
I gotta see if I can pull up just like a.
But it's mega dangerous. But it's Trump. Very good.
Yeah. Well, and that's the point of that South Park thing, is they're going, look at this amazing software.
Yeah.
Look how horrifically dangerous it'll be for the future of fake news. Genuine. Now somebody comes out and they have a press conference. Oh, that wasn't them. They didn't do that.
Yeah.
Here they are.
The thing too, like, so when I went down the rabbit hole a little bit, was Kanye West did a deep fake of Robert Kardashian wishing Kim a happy birthday on her. So he had a deep fake. So Kanye had a deep fake made of her dad telling her happy birthday. And it was just like, Kim, I'm so proud of you. You're so happy for you. You married the smartest guy in the world. It was like this whole thing. But and then there was another one where it was one of the school shootings a while ago. A family had a deep fake done of their son, telling people to get out and vote against gun violence, that kind of thing. How do they do the voice? Like, how is the voice done for that? Is it same thing where you just like...
No, that I think it still has to be a voice actor, right? I don't think there's a voice simulation. I think it's just voice actor, but I don't know.
Well, so...
I feel like you could do the same thing, like with faces.
Yeah, there's the physics of sound where
that looks good. Wow.
But it looks
I'll have to find the video.
It's just right on YouTube. Sassy Justice.
Right. So this will be like super quick physics 101. So think about, like, we have a thing called noise canceling headphones, and the way that they work is a wave goes in and it generates the opposite signal to effectively cancel it out. So that if you have a wave that does this and you have a wave that does this, when they meet, it just becomes a flat line and it creates no sound.
Okay.
That's how noise canceling headphones work. So if you have an audio recording of somebody speaking at length about certain things, using certain vowels, certain consonants, certain word structure, certain phrases, you can generate a mathematical model of what somebody's voice sounds like. Then you can find somebody else, and you're not doing a noise cancel. You're doing a noise blend where you're saying, okay, so this is this person's timbre. This is my target's timbre. I need to adjust this because it's just math. It's just numbers that create curves. You adjust the timbre so that they line up, and then that's how you deep fake audio.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But you have to. It's just like the photos. You have to have. That's why, like in the old movies, they always have like Ethan Hunt will jump on him and say this phrase, and it's like the Nantucket door doesn't open in the winter, because it's getting those vocal timbre points that they're using to make mapping.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I do occasionally use like a noise reduction software in Adobe with whatever the audio thing is. But you basically, what you do is you grab a noise sample and then it records that and then it goes back and erases everything that sounds like that. So basically the same thing, just in the reverse, basically.
Well, yeah, it's not doing an erase.
Yeah.
Yes, it's doing a match or a timbre. It's the logic is the same, but the noise canceling is the best. Is if you've got like a sound of machinery that's making like a steady hum, you can isolate that and you take that, it'll run that math against your math, and it will soften all of that out. Now it might still be like present, but it's not going to be like, you're not going to get that white noise over the top. It's going to drop that down to almost nothing, to where like the human ear can't pick it up.
Right.
Like you could see it in waveform if you look at it digitally, and that's how they can do sometimes when they do all the forensic stuff, when they're talking about like, has this file been digitally manipulated. Somebody with the right training can open up a file waveform and look and see if waveforms have been digitally altered, because there are artifacts.
Yeah, that's super, probably even like ancient in terms of technology, but I do it all the time, man.
Right.
And not like in a bad way.
Well, it's like white
manipulating
balancing.
how people are talking to make, because when human beings very rarely, and I just did it, we very rarely talk in a full sentence. It just never happens. And so people are trained to be speakers, and when they're trained to do that, you're trained to speak in a full sentence. So I am always pulling ums and ahs and ands and all that kind of stuff out of a thing
mental breaks
to give a person a full sentence. So what took 5 seconds to say, I squeeze it into 2.5 seconds for a video. And not only that, but I'm also blending picture over the sound so that it's not weird that the person said a sentence that they didn't really say.
You're forced now to do certain visual cuts
Yeah.
based on what the audio is given.
Exactly. And I'm doing that for the sake of story, for the sake of storytelling, for the sake of a business wanting to get their point across. But there's definitely some nefarious ways that you could do that, because technically the person didn't really say that. They didn't really say, my furniture is the best furniture in town. They said, my store that's full of furniture is probably, in my opinion, the best furniture store in town.
Right.
And then I chopped it up into that to make it work in a 30-second spot,
And then how much, because the other thing when people talk is the sound keeps going from one sound to another sound. Carries through. So if you chop out you've chopped out the beginning of what that phrase.
So it's literally taking very out
staccato.
These little moments.
So now you're getting a
when I've
that's the exaggeration.
Done
now you have to make that flow.
Ton of editing where I've had to squeeze maybe where a person goes up in their voice with another portion, or just the beginning of the word and, but I want it to be and I squeeze it together so it's that word. You have to do it. You have to do it in order, to create commercials. But the inflection of the human voice is really, you don't realize how natural it is to hear a person's voice as it comes out of their mouth until you try to chop it up, until you try to change it. Or, when we're on set, you always take something called room tone, where you just record the ambient sound of the room, because you need that noise to massage the edits you're going to make with the sound. So like I just did a thing for this vet clinic in Carbondale, and so we couldn't shoot inside the clinic. We had to shoot outside. So I had to record the outside noise, and every single commercial has an entire 30-second to 1 minute length of just the noise on the outside.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because if you chop that up, what happens is you hear them talking, and then there's this sharp stoppage of the sound, and then it comes back again, and it's very, very obvious. So you create this ambiance within the piece to the point where, I don't even notice the car in the background, because it just seems natural, in the thing. So
and now the cadence of your cuts, and now add in music, and now it's like, okay, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
There was years ago when my ex was doing her thesis. They went to Louisville, Kentucky, Lynchville, Kentucky, and interviewed a bunch of people, made a theater piece about it, wrote a script based off of what these people actually said from interviews, massaged it, whatever, and I acted in it. And so I think the first thing is I get a script, and I'm reading a script. And, as an actor, you got to go, okay, how do I do this thing? But then I got to listen to the interview. Mm-hmm. So now the script became, how'd the person actually talk? Mm-hmm. And that, like, as an actor, it was like, whoa, it was a wonderful experience where I could go, oh boy, now there's a cadence that I would have never done.
Right.
A way of talking, a way of this and that. And so then I could approach it and go, well, now I'm just I just listen to a ton of this guy, and now I'm just trying to do that thing. Mm-hmm. And from what you would perceive someone, the way they would talk, to, now I'm hearing the actual person actually say these words.
Yeah.
It's very different.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. And the way that people are very nervous in interviews, like really nervous. Mm-hmm. And so they're
finding words, they're trying to figure out where they're going with what they're saying.
A lot of my job is that too, cutting around, making people seem as smart as they are, and as confident as they are in real life, because you get so terrified when a camera's on that you kind of freeze up and stuff, which it's really, really interesting. To see
even just train of thought too. When you ask somebody a question that isn't a yes or a no, and then they get off on a train of thought, but they know that they need to be dialing it back in. So that's when like the but it's just like that. They're down their head is already down this road, but then something kicks in and says, no, I need you to come back in here.
Yeah. That's and becoming a skilled interviewer is very, very hard, because you want to because you're thinking about getting the best story out of them, but you're also thinking about how can I get the right sound bites out of them, because you want complete sentences, you want full ideas, and people constantly derail themselves from the point they're trying to make, not only in just train of thought, but also when people get nervous, they say weird stuff. And they'll I'll ask them a question. I'll be like, my job here is to give people the best chance for success. Like, well, that's a great sentence if you said it how you really feel about it.
Is that when you reach back and like, I'm just going to turn this off, not actually turn off the camera?
Oh, God. I have a lot of those. Yeah. A lot of stuff I've done for Viero is that
like, it's not even on. Just
I start rolling.
Look at the binky.
I let the lady who's interviewing them interview them, like a pre-interview, and I roll on that, and then we go into the actual interview, and the pre-interview's way better because they're talking from the heart. They're being very, very casual. And there's like
conversation.
What do you think of the service? Is it good? Do you like it? Oh, I love it. It's so great. And then you go into the actual interview and ask them how it is, and they turn into zombies. It's crazy.
How's your service? good.
It was good.
Oh, now I'm performing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And people always say that, like, I'm not a public speaker. It's like, well, I'm not asking you to be a public speaker. I just want to ask you questions, man. Yeah, just be a human being.
That's funny.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. People are weird.
My favorite thing about public speaking is the concept that it's kind of like it's a universal fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Like everyone had to take speech in high school or college at some point. And there's always I get stage fright. It's funny to me, and how I got over it personally was the old joke about, just imagine everyone naked. Like, that's not going to work for me because I don't need a boner in the middle of my speech. But what got me past it was hearing everyone say that they're not a public speaker and nervous about talking in front of everybody made me instantly be like, well, they're not going to make fun of me if I screw up because they're having the same insecurity as I am.
Right.
And if they do make fun of me, I still know they have the same insecurities.
Right. And that's how that was my personal epiphany or get over it was like, if I screw up, they're definitely not going to laugh at me. Like my fear is like, oh, I'm going to screw up. They're going to laugh at me and boo me off the stage or out of the class or whatever. But it's like, no, they're all just as insecure about this as I am.
Yeah.
And if I make a mistake, they're on my side to correct it.
Right.
Not to like, I'm not having even like something as important as like a TED talk or something like that. Like those people are there to hear you talk. And if you make a mistake, you made one. They're not going to tar and feather you. Like, just move past it and get over it.
Yeah.
Well, but when you're to that level, then you have the passion, and you don't.
Well, right too. But I'm just saying, even for like,
that initial getting there. Something I was thinking about. When you were talking about it, and it's like, I think of like news anchors giving a live interview on TV.
Yeah.
And that amount of trying to be concise, but also you're an improv and you're also having to keep, that's a real skill that you can see like younger anchors, you see them kind of struggling and you see older people and then you see them interviewing politicians and really polished politicians.
Yeah.
They can just speak real calmly and smoothly and get their point across and they won't get flustered about it. And you see the interviewer either wanting to get that answer or wanting to push that answer down because of whatever their channel's agenda is.
Yeah, they want to get a stinger, and then when it doesn't happen, they're just like,
right.
The thing.
Shut up, stop talking. Yeah, what about this? I'm just keep interrupting you because I don't want you to make your point.
Yeah.
But hey.
Well, is that the show? Did we? Where this phlegm is coming from all of a sudden?
Blah blah.
Yeah. Blah blah.
That's your. If you become a Star Wars character.
Yeah. Right.
Flembo Sklonglugian.
Team to Flumsy Glungus.
Grogu.
All right, everybody. Thank you.
Grogu. Team Grogu.
I like it. I think it's cute.
It's not. I don't have a better
name.
That
it's like ugly. I do. I like it.
Yeah, it's a very. It's funny because it's Goo is in it.
Yeah.
And Grow because he's tiny, and it definitely sounds like the name of something that is a little garbage disposal because he eats everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so I'll say it. I hated the egg episode so much.
Yeah.
Because he kept eating those eggs, and I don't know why, it just bugs the bejesus out of me.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw out a complete BS theory that I'm totally like just making fun of this, but those were bad eggs. Those were going to be bad.
Oh, he could sense that they were.
His force sensitivity told him, "I need to get these ones out of the batch."
I would believe that if he didn't have like pockets of them stuffed away, and then every time Mando looked away, he was like,
"He's just hungry."
Yeah.
He wanted to eat eggs.
He's hungry. He's growing.
I did see a great story about how how the planet of Tatooine was saved when Yoda died because he was essentially the apex predator on that planet and just ate everything.
Right.
And then when he died, like the planet was able to then survive. Dagobah. Sorry. Yeah, that he was like the
That's
apex
funny.
predator because he would just eat everything.
Yeah.
And then when he died, the planet flourished.
Anything that could evolve. Yeah.
So it was just junky because he was there.
Yes, exactly. It was a swamp because he just
applying the Baby Yoda appetite to Yoda.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Like
It was a really funny read. It was like that's jacked up, but that's real funny.
Yeah.
The only things he didn't eat were snakes.
Yeah.
So they flourished.
Good stuff.
That's funny.
Yeah, but no, I hated that
show, man.
episode.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I know that he's a child still, but how like Mando kept telling him like, stop it, like knock it off. And he was just like, oops, and just munching them like nom nom nom. And then obviously that got them into trouble. So I get why that is there. I don't know. It just kept bugging me.
Well, it was Mando was very un-Mando in a way. It was just like very like flustered dad sort of. It was like Everybody Loves Raymond, but in a Mandalorian suit. So there were some moments where I was like, ugh, this is getting really, really old, and then the weird lizard lady. It was just like a lot of stuff that was like a little bit.
Well, the dumb lizard lady, I'm like, I do need to make my Star Wars thing faster now than I had to before because they're starting to use up my jokes. Like, oh boy, the humor I was gonna do is starting to come out, and now I'm just gonna look like a copycat. Crap.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wrote that script that's got a little bit of a tie-in, and it's getting like closer to the that actually happening, and I wrote that last year, so like, oh man, we should probably shoot that so we can actually seem like we actually came up with the idea before all this came out. But I did copyright it, so we'll know. People will know. It'll be known.
And it's Star Wars, so I'm sure you have copyright.
Oh yeah, it's intellectual property. Yeah. Exactly. I didn't use Wikipedia at all. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Come find us on Spotify. Spotify is the big winner. That's most of our listeners are on Spotify. So hop on over there, or Apple Podcasts, or anywhere podcasts are found.
And we should be more regular for about 2 weeks, and then it'll be Christmas. And
we'll
be taking a couple weeks off.
Yeah. I was looking at our analytics too. 99% of our viewers are male and in the United States. So, yeah. So it's just you, Nick. That's it.
It's just me. Great, another white male.
Yeah, right. Just what we that's just what we need. Right. One white guy doing stuff. All right, everybody, have a great week. We'll see you next week with a show that we'll decide on momentarily.
In secret.
Oh,